horse. And the horse.
Oops. Now we can go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Monday night. It is time for revolutionary change. I'm Jen Perelman.
I'm Peter Hager, and I may look a little shinier than Jen for a change.
You've got to stop obsessing about how you look, all right? Seriously, you've got to.
I'm vain.
You really are.
Wasn't that Carly Simon's most popular song that she ever did?
I don't know if it was her most popular song.
She's so vain.
Popular song. Yeah, I mean, he's so vain. It's really you're so vain, but it was about. There's theories as to who it was about. Some people think. Well, I think she had said at some point that it was actually a compilation of a few different people. But
it was Warren Beatty.
Okay, well,
let me tell you, Warren Beatty today apparently has like control over Dick Tracy, and apparently there's been like people that have been trying to get control of it for years. And I think it's like once a year he dresses up like, I mean, it's absurd at this point because Warren Beatty's like 85, I think. And to see him in the Dick Tracy outfit now, it just looks pretty ridiculous. But hey, when you're vain and you're committed, it's the way it goes, right?
Yeah. So we have a lot to talk about. Yeah, and we were almost having 3 guests tonight, but now we're only having 2 guests tonight.
Well, I guess we're just a little bit too much to handle.
So. Well, it is, I mean, it is we are a special episode, I mean, today is the story of the evolution, guys. It is President's Day. We will later be speaking, of course, at 9:00. We'll be speaking with Margaret Kimberley, author of the book Prejudential, which you guys know I love. And she's always a very good person to talk to about the de-evolution that we're looking at on President's Day. But so that is, we're having a special episode.
Do we have anything positive to say about any presidents anywhere, anytime?
I do not. Actually, yeah, the guy in Burkina Faso.
It is President's Day. You're telling me that there isn't anything throughout the entire history of the presidency. I mean, listen, we all know for a fact that the presidency is, when it comes to, as I put in our post a little earlier, greatness amongst the presidency is an anomaly. It's not the norm by any stretch.
I don't see it at all. So like you asked me who my favorite president was, right?
Yeah.
And you are presuming that I would have a favorite president in this country, like that
I
any
didn't presume
one of those people would
I didn't
be.
presume. I
Yeah.
didn't presume.
No, I think that they are all white supremacists, including Barack Obama. And I actually think they are all just tools for capital and used what they had to get rich. And we're just basically the liaison between the oligarchs and the people with some sort of like pretense of being, working with us for us. And so,
Well,
no, I don't like any of them. The first, however many of them were slave owners. Then you had the ones that were all okay with Jim Crow and segregation. No. Then there was the ones. How about the ones that massacred the natives? How about those guys?
well,
Or
that's,
I
that's
know Truman. He was special.
no, Andrew Jackson was.
Okay,
I mean,
all of
that's
them. All of them. First, do you think that it's just new that we're finding that the people that are in charge in leadership positions are psychopathic or sociopathic? Do you think
no,
that's new?
no,
Because
but I
that's
do
since the
that.
beginning of time. So all of these presidents, whether you look up to these people or not for whatever reason, are in that same category of people.
No,
So
again,
they're all white supremacists, tools of oligarchy.
well, you can
So
continue to say that, but I'm going to continue to remind people that the president of the United States, in almost every capacity, ever since JFK, where it became obvious, they're just figureheads. They kind of just do what they're told. Now,
tools,
there are certain instances, yeah, tools for empire, for sure. But that
right?
doesn't mean that there aren't ones that go off half-cocked because they actually enjoy being the tool for empire, or they like being the leader of empire. I think LBJ comes to mind. I think Trump I totally love being the man in charge. Like, there is something to be said for that. Heck, I think Obama loved being president. Reagan loved being president. It wasn't so much that.
Yes, because, well, Reagan was an actor. I mean, he loved to be in front of a camera. I just want to say something, guys. I heard the funniest thing. So Professor Morandi, who we have not had on the show because, again, time differences. I was just watching him, and he is now referring to the elite class. He is now calling them the Epstein class. And I just think it's really funny.
Yeah, well, again, there are different degrees of who fought against the elite class. There isn't much of any to write home about. Teddy Roosevelt happens to be one of them. There is an argument for FDR, but even then, I'm not really convinced. I think FDR has been given way too much leeway in history, almost to the point now where it's kind of in the same context where they talk about, like, the history is written from the perspective of the victors, if you will. It is the monster class.
Here's the problem is that you're looking at these people, these presidents like Teddy Roosevelt, like, oh, what they did for the working class, how they stood up to capital, how they did that. Like, that's okay. So some of them were better at that than others. But what about the fact that they were all horrible, horrible to marginalized, vulnerable people across the globe in this country, up and down and sideways? So it's sort of like saying, I know he's a total Zionist and he's committing a genocide, but God, he's done great things for the economy. Look at the Dow.
That is a subjective argument that I'm not 100% convinced is correct when it comes to certain people. Now, again,
Which people?
Again, when it comes to the history of the presidency, I see maybe three men that truly were unique in their own respect as far as what they brought to the table. I believe Lincoln was unique in his own way. I believe Teddy was unique in his own way. And I believe JFK was unique in his own way. But that's about it.
We're going to take those three to Margaret. We should have a poll. We should have some sort of presidential poll tonight, I think. Like something having to do with, you want to know who people think is like,
I think the only way that Margaret would look at it is to say, okay, they're all bad, but who is the least offensive? Like there is like that line where you say,
well, I used to think Carter, and then we had Margaret on that time, and then that was shot.
Jimmy Carter is responsible for neoliberalism. Like he is the godfather.
I know. I know.
And at the time when Ted Kennedy ran for president, and let's face it, Ted Kennedy is a lightweight compared to his two brothers that did run, both became senators, and ultimately one became president and the other probably would have become president. But of course, when the Kennedys are a great test case of what happens when members of the elite class betray their class, decide to go off in another direction, and then have to be made an example of. Now, in large part, it is Israel, but that's just one part of the equation. That's the thing about what we're going to get into regarding Howard Lutnick and Larry Silverstein. It's not just the fact that you have this Jewish Zionist class of power players within our government, within our economic and political infrastructure. It's the fact that they're part of the empire. There's a reason why when you get to a certain level of money and power that you basically have to be a psychopath. Like there really isn't a way
Yes.
to get to that level and maintain it without seeing human and even animal, plant life, if you will, as expendable. If it's a means to an end, especially to maintain the empire, especially now that the empire is cratering in many respects. I mean, you want to talk about nefarious, inhumane, genocidal behavior that people in positions of power are going to be willing to go to in order to maintain that power structure for just a little while longer. Believe me, believe me when I tell you, they're going to do it.
Yeah, I just feel like you give Teddy way too much credit, and it's just something that, okay, might be good for some working people, but I'm sure that if we did a death count, see, that's what we should know. That's what we should know about each president. I want a body count. I want a body count for each president.
You know which
And
president
then, and only then will I be able to tell you who is the least offensive.
Do you know
I'm
which
going to go with
president?
who murders the least people.
Do you know which president has the highest body count? And it's not even
Uh,
close. And it's not even close.
well, no, I don't. I would think they're all ridiculous.
The largest body count is Harry Truman.
Well, oh, right. I should have, like, yeah, Hiroshima. So yeah, that makes sense.
Well,
But
actually, it wasn't Hiroshima, it was Nagasaki. Hiroshima, which there is still, it is still suggested to this day, and I am actually inclined to believe it. And it's Hiroshima. And Hiroshima was bombed because it was the industrial epicenter of Japan. And so the whole idea was to basically take out their entire war machine infrastructure. So they drop Fat Man, and that does the job. And there is a theory, which I am still convinced is probably true, that over the course of that 24-hour period between when Hiroshima was bombed and then when Nagasaki was bombed with Little Boy, and Nagasaki is a population center. So that was a true crime against humanity if there ever was. The intention was to kill as many civilians as possible. And my God, did they ever. Japan had already surrendered after the bomb hit Hiroshima. And just for good measure, Truman decided to drop the second bomb anyway. It's like, yeah,
my understanding was that neither was necessary. Neither was for anything other than what, I mean, I guess we could, there's a lot of this going on tonight, but we could start if you want to talk about Truman. And it really is important for us. Guys, I am preparing everyone tonight. Tonight will be like an anthology of understanding small dick energy in the wild. It will be. And so the fact that we're talking about, because he was told, pleaded to by generals and by scientists not to do that it was not necessary to do that.
Yeah.
And yet he did it anyway. That is a little man with twice unnecessarily, per the people that were the most knowledgeable about what was necessary. So that's evil. And that is, but again, to me, they're all that. They're all that. I don't know that you're going to, like, honestly, I'm going to, and the guy who only lasted for 24 hours doesn't count. And the guy with the month doesn't count, the old guys. Like, we're going to have to pin Margaret down.
Well, did you see Oppenheimer?
No.
Gary Oldman plays Truman, and my God, does he not do a fantastic job?
Gary Oldman's amazing.
He does. Do you really think anyone gives a shit about in Hiroshima and Nagasaki
exactly
who created the bomb? They care who dropped it. I did.
Exactly. This is what I'm talking about. That is small dick energy. Anywho, I think that, yeah, we should figure out from Margaret who would be, I don't know. We should go over either the few that you named, or we could pick like someone to do. We got to do some sort of poll. I just don't know how to do it because to me they're all horrible. So it's just layers of horribleness. So do you
Yeah.
want to take your 4 and do a poll of which people think are the most, of those 4 who are the most influential, who they think is most influential or something like that?
Well, I know, again, I know everybody's inclined to go with FDR. And I think it's, again, throughout history, there's always been the argument that the 4 most
I don't know
revered.
that everyone would go with FDR. I think a lot of people would go with Lincoln.
No, what I'm saying is that when you talk about the history of the presidency in the United States, who are the 4 most revered presidents? It's Washington, Lincoln, and the 2 Roosevelts. But I think the argument can be made for JFK. I really do. I think he, even in the limited time that he was there, he, more than anyone else who's ever been martyred, was willing to prove not only is that it's possible to make great change for the betterment of humanity, but that if you attempt to do it within an empire, you will likely be killed. Because if you, in any way, shape, or form, mess with success, oh, the 4 worst presidents?
That's too hard for most people because a couple of them are pretty obscure, I think, to some people. You think everyone knows who like Buchanan is? I mean, I don't know.
Because history has always suggested that the 2 worst, again, we're talking about super liberal Democratic scholar, people. So when we think about the history of the presidency, Lincoln has always been regarded as the greatest president. And before him and after him, Buchanan and Johnson are often regarded as the 2 worst. But if you were to ask me who I think the worst presidents are in the history of the country,
Woodrow Wilson,
LBJ, George W. Bush.
And I actually do think Truman, but there's that.
I think you could definitely make an argument for
again.
Truman.
That's why I kind of want to know body count.
I also think
he's definitely up there.
Well, the other thing that I think is fair to say is that the United States did not become a global empire until the Industrial Revolution. So I think there's an argument to be made in terms of where the presidents actually stand in the course of history, pre and post Industrial Revolution, starting with the Vanderbilts and the railroad system, and then everything that came after that. So
that doesn't help me come up with a poll. So guys, wait, before we get started though, because are we going to go into you want to go into our story?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
so. If you guys are new here, welcome. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. If you're so inclined, share this. We're very suppressed.
Yeah, and I also think that there's like so many different layers to this, but where I really want to kick things, well, we both want to kick things off, is for people to understand the empire and why people get where they get. Now, we're going to come back to Larry Silverstein, who was the owner and the person who actually had a 99-year lease on the World Trade Center just prior to 9/11. And anybody who has seen the original clip that we played of Mr. Lizard Man himself, and he definitely gives off lizard vibes, he had breakfast at the, what was it called again? The Windows of the World?
The top of the Trade Center.
Windows of the World on top of the North Tower. And he had been doing this nonstop for 30 years, some ridiculous number.
Every day he was there, except on 9/11.
Except 9/11.
His wife convinced him that he had to go to the doctor because he had a little thing on his face. And we were very lucky that day, as he likes to put it.
But guess what? He's not the only person who apparently was very lucky on 9/11. Not the only one. You know who else was very lucky on 9/11, Jen? And
what are you telling? None other than who is he? That he's the secretary of? Who is he again? I mean, I know who is Lutnick, but like what? Nutlick.
Did you call him Nutlick?
Nutlick.
It's amazing how it just flows like that.
But what's his actual position? I forget what he's the.
So Howard Lutnick was one of the top executives at the #1 firm.
But who is he right now to try? I forget. He's the head of
Secretary of Commerce.
Commerce. That's what I thought.
The Commerce Secretary.
Commerce Secretary, Howard. We have to start with like not knowing that everybody knows what we're talking about. So we're talking about Howard Lutnick, who is the Secretary of the Department of Commerce.
If you're going to say it right. That's his real name. So Howard Lucky Lutnick.
He's so entangled in this. So yeah, all the way back.
I did not realize, as many of you probably didn't know, if there's one thing that most people who studied 9/11 know, is that every single person, and I mean every single person above the impact zone in the North Tower died on 9/11. And who primarily operated above the impact zone in the North Tower?
Morgan Stanley.
Cantor Fitzgerald.
Okay.
Do you know who worked for Cantor Fitzgerald and just so happened to not be at his office on 9/11? Here we go.
Of the 1,000 Cantor employees at the Trade Center, only 300 are accounted for at this time, and none was at the building at that time. This immense human loss has truly devastated the chairman and CEO.
I get to kiss my kids. I get to kiss my kids tonight. But other.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. As an attorney, and you are doing human profile, can you sense fake tears from like a mile away when you're seeing somebody?
Yeah, but this one's not even as bad as that other one that you had before that you sent me, where we saw him. I saw another part of him talking to someone where it was outside and he was talking about all the things they're doing for the families. I think it was like a week later, a few days later. I don't know when this was. But yes, guys, this is Howard Lutnick after 9/11, crying, and he's so sad for all the families who have suffered such a loss, and it's only by a miracle that he wasn't there as well. Yeah, a miracle.
People don't get to kiss their kids, and I just have to help them. And I think what's amazing, and I think it's amazing, you have 300 people. They lost all their friends. They lost the person to their left. They lost the person to their right. And they call me up and they say, I want to go to work. I said, why do you want to go to work? Let's just go to funerals. They go, no, I want to go to work. I can't stay home. I can't stay home. I have to work. I have to do something. And so they actually wanted to try to figure out how to be in business. It's unbelievable. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. But the reason they want to be in business, and there's only one reason to be in business, is because we have to make our company be able to take care of my 700 families. 700 families. How do you have 700 families? I can't say it. I can't say it without crying.
Yeah.
But yet there's a lot of like misinformation that he has given about where he was and what he was doing, and not knowing the name of his kid's school, and not know, I mean, there's a variety of things. Like there were two different, so he said his kid went to one school, but he was actually dropping him off at another school. So there's some stuff there that's a problem, but not the least of which is it just happens to be on that day that he wasn't there.
Hey, Erica Kirk would have been very impressed with that performance.
Well, he's better than she is.
Well, here's one thing that when you're looking for a piece of evidence where you would say, okay, did he or did he not give part of the game away? It turns out that he did. Now, you didn't hear it in this part of the interview because we're not going to continue to just play clips all day long. But what he did say in that interview was that the reason why, of all the mornings, like Larry Silverstein, that he just so happened to not be at the office at Cantor Fitzgerald on time, which I believe was 8 a.m., about, I want to say like 20 minutes or so before the first plane hit, was that he was taking his son to school for the first day. It was the first day of school, he claimed, September 11th. Now, I'm from the Northeast, and anybody who knows anything about going to school in the Northeast knows that school starts in and around about Labor Day. When was Labor Day? The week before. When was the first?
But here's the last thing that I heard, which is why I don't know anything about this. He had said that he dropped his kid off, I believe, at Horace Mann. but he didn't. And that's a public school, I guess, that did start the week earlier. But what's interesting is supposedly he dropped his kid off at a private school, or it might have been like a Jewish day school or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And that the 11th was the first day. So I heard a couple of different things, but either way, it is way too convenient that that was the only day in however long that he wasn't in the World Trade Center.
You mean to tell me that the person who at the time, who was already one of the top executives for one of the most powerful firms on Wall Street, and was clearly already very close with Jeffrey Epstein. He's like the one sole survivor of Cantor Fitzgerald, the person who's now the Secretary of Commerce of the United States.
And by the way, not just an associate of Epstein, neighbors in Palm Beach with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, the date of so that was what, 2002, right? Yeah. When that was okay. So I don't know when his relationship started with Epstein and how deep he was in by that point, or what any of that was. But yes, this is someone who is trying to convince us that he doesn't really know anything about what was going on Epstein's Island.
No.
And yes, again, the same person coincidentally just happened to not be at the World Trade Center on 9/11, where he normally was every day. And that same person just happens to be entwined with Zionist affiliated people.
It goes deeper than that. That's just where it starts. We have more to share. Colin, I sent you 2 images. Let's do the first one, and then we'll do the second one, tie it all together. This was from just a little while ago.
This is today.
Larry Silverstein, lucky Larry Silverstein, acquires 99-year lease for the Twin Towers just 6 weeks before 9/11, insures both towers for $3.2 billion against acts of terrorism, and ensures he can build new World Trade Center complex if destroyed. With allegedly, we have to use that term very carefully now. Wife allegedly convinces him to attend dermatologist appointment on morning of 9/11 instead of scheduled meeting in North Tower. Twin Towers attacked, collapsing to dust along with his other skyscraper.
And here it is.
He also owned World Trade Center 7. He owned that
building. There's that. That's pretty massive.
And remember, Building 7 is that's the canary in the coal mine. You're not even allowed to talk about Building 7. And this is the thing that got Abby Martin in so much trouble years ago, because she was a 9/11 truther, and a lot of it basically had to do with Building 7. Now, no one wanted to talk about it.
But because it was such a controlled demolition, because it was far enough removed from the towers, there's no reason to think that it would have been collateral. Like, it looked so predetermined. It looked so set. So yes. So the fact that he owned that and those, yeah. Seriously, those are his 3 buildings that he owned?
All plummeting at near tree fall speed. Files insurance claim for $7 billion, argues attacks on Twin Towers consisted of 2 separate events, thus double compensation required. Settles for $4.5 billion with a B compensation on Twin Towers and collects millions in other insurance payouts. Builds new World Trade Center complex. But that's not all. So here's a little caveat of history that a lot of people don't know, why everybody says it's a Jewish cabal. Governor George Pataki was not on board with this. but Governor Elliott Spitzer was. And he's the one who made sure that he got paid. It's funny how that works, isn't it? So to bring this all full circle, Colin, if you will,
I think these people need to learn Mangio and monetary theory. That's what I think.
Silverstein, Cantor Fitzgerald to raise nearly $2 billion opportunity fund. It is among the largest targeted funds to be directed at opportunity zones. People
When
killed.
was this?
I believe this was in lead up to the construction of the new World Trade Center.
Okay. So this was after 9/11.
Correct.
And this is Silverstein and Lutnick coming together for this major financial opportunity to rebuild the place that they were supposed to have been dead in, but weren't, miraculously, both of them together.
As Chanel points out, they kill people like it's nothing. Listen, you have Randy Fine, who we're going to get to in a little while, talking about how we need to put down Muslims like they're dogs. I mean, you really think that they hesitate when it comes to this? No, you have to be a psychopath.
I actually appreciate something about that, because it's like, when you talk about people that need to be put down, I think about rabid, disgusting people like Randy Swine. Like, that's who I think needs to be put down. That's what's so interesting. Like, he sometimes really gives me the best ideas for things that would be good for him, right? It's really interesting. It's very much like he projects that.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And not only that, but I think it's fair to say that we would all be doing humanity a great service. One of the things that the natives used to do way back when, part of the reason why their primary targets for animal kill were buffaloes and boars. And why did they choose those particular wild animals for the purpose of food? Well, it wasn't just food, it was conservation. And I have to tell you, there's a reason we call him Randy Swine. Randy Swine is a big hog. And if someone were to sacrifice Randy Swine, he would provide a lot of food and sustenance for a lot of people living in very depressed. Well, I'm just saying.
I can comment. All right, can we we don't need to skip ahead to Swine.
Does anybody question at this point? Does anybody still not question the official narrative of 9/11, like the official narrative of the USS Liberty, of Jack's assassination, of the Gulf of Tonkin? Do you still believe this stuff?
I have a question about this, though. So when this came out was right, I don't know what year it was when they started talking about rebuilding the area. Like, I forget what year this was.
Like 2005.
Okay. So it was only 3 years later, right?
Yeah, give or take.
Okay. So this was 3 years later. How come it wasn't more of a big deal and a coincidence that both of these men were miraculously spared when they were always there every other day? Why was there no connection? Because this is 3 years later and nobody thought, oh, both of these people have that same story. It's kind of weird that they were both not there when they should have been there. And then you see an article like this that came out where they're standing there together. How is this not figured out then?
The fact that they basically told the exact same story of all the days I just so happened to not be there. Oh, and I happened to be going to the dermatologist. I was driving my kid to school, even though it's been shown that that's not actually what happened. Once you start screwing up like that, it's inevitable that something will be done. And you have often said, why do we get to this point now to even question whether the government or the powers that be will ever do anything to people that clearly have broken federal law? They're doing all these things. Because the empire is collapsing. You have to ask yourself, at what point does it become the citizen's obligation to do citizen's arrest? At what point do we have to start taking the law into our own hands, not in a negative way, but in a justified way? When does it become the obligation of the citizenry to do what is necessary to see that the law is either followed or that we create new laws so that we do what we have to do? This is why I come back, again, when I think of Thomas Jefferson, I don't think about him as the president. I think about him as the author of the Declaration of Independence, who once said that there will come a time where you will most likely have to create a new government. When the old, I can't remember the exact language that he used, but he basically describes how when the old way's not working anymore, and it's clear that it can never work again, you have to start over. That's what he wrote it in the actual document. So to suggest that we're not there, that it's crazy at this point. It's clear that we're broken beyond repair. And when we think about how far we've come when it comes to the issue of Israel, I think we're at a point now where nothing surprises anybody anymore.
No.
We're past the point of surprise.
I'm past the point of surprise with everything. I want to comment. Somebody has asked if we've discussed Luigi since the death penalty was taken off the table. I do believe we did, if it weren't just for that reason alone that his attorney won that ruling. So I think we have spoken about Luigi since then. But yeah, the death penalty was taken off the table, which if you guys want to go back to the very beginning of this all, in the very beginning when they went to charge him with the death penalty, and you will find me saying they won't be able to do that because New York doesn't have the death penalty, and the federal crime won't justify it. So I remember thinking, well, that's just silly. They're not going to be able to get the death penalty for him. So I'm not surprised that she got that ruling, but she is just amazing. Like Karen, what's it? Agnifilio? I think she's my spirit animal. She's my spirit animal. She's amazing.
Yeah, doing a great job. So,
and let me tell you, I maintain what I've been saying all along. They will not find 12 people to convict him.
Well, he didn't
but
even
what concerns me is that they'll find another way to be done with him. That's what concerns me. So
now, before we bring in our esteemed guests in the next 20 minutes, I want to cover something that I think a lot of people have been asking us to cover, but now we're going to cover it in the context where we basically show you that there's a reason why we never talked about James Fishback before. And with good
people
reason.
have asked us, why don't we talk about him? And if you don't know, start with who that is. Give the premise.
So for those of you that are wondering what's happening in Florida politics, because I am still a Florida resident and will be for the foreseeable future, and Jen is a born and raised South Floridian. Yes, a very rare native in the wild that actually exists. So if anybody is wondering how the gubernatorial race this year is going to end, let me assure you, Byron Donalds is the next governor of the state of Florida.
That's what I've been telling y'all. That's what I've been saying. That's how it's going to go.
So the flash in the pan idea was that maybe some populist would come along and would cause a stir, and maybe, just maybe, would potentially try to shift Florida in a direction other than the one that it's in right now. Now, the stranglehold that the state of Israel has over our country is slowly but surely dying. Everybody can see it. However, the state of Florida is one of the states that will be the last that actually moves away. And there's many reasons for that. Southeast Florida alone is little Israel. So try to get over that hump in this current moment is a near impossibility. However, James Fishback, who the first time I really listened to him in conversation, I thought, oh, this guy's a snake oil salesman. Now, he might actually believe what he's saying. He might actually be saying some things regarding the state of Israel that, yeah, he probably feels that way. But then you, again, as you've alluded to, you start listening to some of the other things that he says in terms of his political ideology, and you're thinking, well, this guy's a scumbag. Like, where have you been?
He's wrong on so many different levels for things. And it's like, it's a false prophet in a way, because people get so lured by the fact that there's, especially in this moment right now, that there is an anti-Israel candidate. Because, you know, as you guys know, Florida is a huge funder of ZioHel. I mean, you know, so to have somebody running for governor right now that is speaking against doing that is very appealing to people. And so when we know in Florida that we're a red state, we're having a Republican governor. It's what's happening. People who are donating money to have a Democratic governor, donate to a cause, donate locally, find something better to do with your money. So the question is there a Republican that would be better than Byron Donalds, who we're basically looking at having is Byron Donalds. And so you hear about this guy coming out, this Fishback, oh, he's a Republican, but he's anti-Israel. And so it's like, okay, well, that's better than it isn't. His stuff is off the wall. He believes in a sin tax. Please.
Okay. Can you explain what that means?
Well, he wants to tax people for things that he considers sinful. You know what I mean? Like a sin tax. It has to do with punishing women for things like prostitution. He's like, yeah.
Okay, so the guy is definitely giving away closet homosexual vibes. There's no question about it.
Total misogynist.
And comes from that. But what I also think is important is you have to.
No, not syntax. Sin tax.
You're thinking that was the same thing. Syntax? No. Separate.
Like syntax is a good thing. Yes, syntax is a good thing.
Yes, exactly.
Syntax is not. It's judgy and creepy and very like preachy and churchy, and it does not belong in our system of governance.
Now, don't get me wrong, and I actually agree with this. I actually think that OnlyFans is terrible. And one of the other unheralded aspects of OnlyFans is the fact that it is run by a Zio Jewish guy who absolutely 1,000% is involved in trafficking women. So the idea that that's even a thing is ridiculous. And if you look into the origins of OnlyFans, it was never supposed to be like this.
And for people asking if he defines the sins, he started going down this whole concept with OnlyFans and the way he was, what was he wanting to charge them on that or fine them or something? I don't know. Yeah. It was very preachy and creepy. And I didn't,
No, and again, don't get me wrong. I am actually, again, you guys who know me, I am very libertarian in most of my politics. I believe prostitution should absolutely be legal. I don't see any, if that is.
I said prostitution when we started. I didn't realize it was OnlyFans. I specifically said he wants to put a sin tax on prostitution. I am against anybody calling what anybody else does a sin and deciding what they can, who they can and cannot tax based on their values. Yeah, no, get the hell out of here with that.
Yeah. And on top of everything else, the biggest issue with prostitution is that it's a criminal enterprise and pimps are criminals, period. So there's, like I said, there's like different layers.
Somebody profiting off of somebody else's body, that's a problem. Correct. Somebody profiting off of their own body is none of my business if they're a consenting adult. Okay. So that's the difference. So yes, pimps, gross. Prostitution by a consenting adult person, whether male or female, that's their business. Correct.
That's your business. Do what you want.
Right. That's a different story. Yes.
So here's the first layer. There were many clips that I could go with, but this is the one that I think in some respects, we're going to do it in a two-part here, and then we're going to get to the main part. This is Fishback recently sitting down for an interview, and this is how he's built himself a nice populist movement.
So this is recent.
This is very recent.
Okay.
Yes, are frustrated with the Democratic Party establishment, but they're also really pissed at Republicans who just whine, put out strongly worded letters. There's no arrest. There's no accountability. Our country is being auctioned off before our eyes, and all Republicans can seem to do is go on Fox News and make jokes about Kamala Harris or Barack Obama instead of actually fighting for the heritage and birthright of our nation.
Now, he's absolutely correct about this because both corporate-owned parties, our duopoly system, is owned by the same people. There is no distinction with a difference. The only difference is whether or not you say, I'm pro-choice versus I'm anti-choice, or I am pro-gun, not gun. The one thing we're learning, especially with Israel, is that the margins are so thin you can't see them. That's why they have conniption fits about, oh my God, you mean to tell me you're not going to support super duper insane Zionist Gavin Newsom for president? Why? Because he'll do genocide nicer? Is that basically what your argument is? You'll feel better about it? That you could go to sleep at night knowing that the person who's doing it isn't half-cocked saying shit on social media? Is that what it's about? Probably. But then you take it a step further.
So he's all Mr. I'm standing up, America first. I'm standing up against sending money to Israel now, but then we're going to go back a few years.
Hold on a minute. This goes even further. Fishback is not only challenging the corporate establishment, he's even going after the Epstein files.
Oh.
We stopped public executions. We stopped public hangings in 1924. I would bring them back for the people in the Epstein files and any sex trafficker. I don't want 20 years on death row. I want fair trial. I want full due process. And when they are convicted, I want a public hanging Sunday high noon for the whole world to see. This is what we do to you. I can't go back and obviously stop these things from happening. But my pledge, if elected the 47th governor of Florida, is I will spare no resource to make sure that every Floridian identified in the Epstein files is investigated and brought to justice.
First of all, his cadence is extremely deceptive. He is extremely rehearsed. Everything he throws out there, and while I will not disagree with what he's suggesting, I absolutely 1000% agree that the wood chipper, as Lee Argent suggests, for child sex traffickers and molesters, etc. Fishback Mount. Yeah, well, I said he's probably a closet homosexual. But even if he's not, he gives off that energy of I am going to show my bravado, my machismo, my masculine energy, and I'm going to tell him that, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing. Yeah, that's all well and good until you dig into his history. Now, the thing that I find so interesting about this is that it'd be one thing if this was coming from, say, 10 years ago. He's had some type of a political odyssey. He doesn't really feel this way anymore.
People do evolve. Look, people evolve. But
I would imagine that just about everybody who is here in the chat tonight has probably seen at least one episode of Jubilee. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Jubilee is stupid, because you can't really have a conversation and debate with anybody over the course of 60 to 90 seconds. Now, some people are quick on their feet and can do things like that. Mehdi Hassan comes to mind. That's his style. Point is, you get these groups together and then they end up being seen by millions of people on social media. Does anybody remember this one with Destiny by any chance? After October 7th.
Okay, so this was after October 7th. Okay.
Hundreds of billions of dollars a year more. That emboldens them to give their proxies weapons, money, and the vigor to attack the Jewish state. And that is unacceptable in the international community. Let me tell you something about President Trump. Let me tell you something about President Trump. The only reason that Hamas attacked Israel.
Honestly, I just have to say right off the bat, I can't decide who sucks more helium before they get in front of a camera. Is it Destiny or little Ben Shapiro? I can't. Honestly, they both give off that same vibe.
Let me ask you a question. Can you please explain to me how we go about doing such a thing? Why do you think that this is necessary?
Okay. Did Fishback not think that this was not going to come back to bite him in the ass?
I just can't believe how recent this is that he thought he could get away with this. But yeah.
Getting caught, not with you. This is
getting caught sitting there spewing Zionist talking points when you just basically have been campaigning that you're the anti-Israel candidate. Yes, I think that's very deceiving.
Not only spewing it to him, but spewing it to the person that the greatest Jewish intellectual of our time refers to him as such a fantastic moron. Thank you, Mr. Finkelstein. He calls Destiny a fantastic. Destiny supports the state of Israel. So I guess he's just not going far enough. So Fishback, when his true colors are shown, is basically saying, oh, I know what's going on here. You're not supporting the state of Israel enough. You see, when you find a lane, and the lane that looks open is a lane that involves going against Israel, because again, it's inevitable that the state of Israel is going to collapse, despite what people will say. A chameleon, a politician, a snake oil salesman, if you will, is going to find his way to a path that's going to lead to some success. But what happens when the skeletons start coming out of the closet? You think this is the only thing that Fishback is hiding?
Let this play, and so we see the total difference between where he was just a couple of years ago and where he is now.
You think the only reason they're able to do it is because of increased Iranian funding?
Who funds Hamas?
In part, it's Iran, but Hamas gets funding from all sorts of different adventures.
Who funds Iran?
They get money from Qatar, right?
Who funds? Okay. Who funds Hamas? Of course they do.
Right? Probably
Who gives
more money.
I think. No.
It might have been Qatar, I think, actually.
Well, they give them a Ritz-Carlton hotel room. But listen.
No, they were transferring a whole lot of money to the Gaza Strip. That was one of the big things, one of the big scandals that Netanyahu was involved in, was allowing that money to pass through to the Gaza Strip
Stephen,
under
let's
his
just do some
supervision.
quick logical reasoning here. If Iran gets more money, that's good for Hamas, right? You agree on that? Come on.
Broadly speaking.
Yeah, come on. Just concede one thing, Stephen.
This clip doesn't necessarily show him being so pro-Israel per se, but I'm going to take your word for it that that's what he was sitting there and
let's go to the beginning again. Let's see the beginning again.
Making hundreds of billions of dollars a year more. That emboldens them to give their proxies weapons, money, and the vigor to attack the Jewish state. And
he's talking about funding Iran to give their proxies. Right. Correct.
So instead of talking about the fact that we are dealing with a Zionist state and that the reason why Iran has funding and is again, it's like it's backwards. There is still this belief, and they still throw it out there, that if it wasn't for Iran and if it wasn't for Hamas, everything would be fine in the Middle East. This is completely downplaying and disregarding the fact that we have a genocidal Zionist state in the middle of a desert that never belonged to them in the first place. And that all of the problems were never superseded by anything other than the creation of the Zionist state. So
I guess I understand he's saying from a certain perspective, like he's definitely taking the Zio talking point that, Iran is the bad guy. We have to go after Iran. We have to go after Iran. But that is not necessarily completely contradictory with him saying he doesn't want to support Israel financially right now. I mean, do you know what I'm saying?
I don't agree, because what you see here is the context of we have to stop Iran, otherwise the Jewish state is not, again, you can't flip your language in such a dramatic way.
So, right. So I see what you're saying. So you're saying that you can't be so supportive of the Jewish state that you're arguing that way about Iran and then turn around and say, we shouldn't be supporting the Jewish state.
You know what matters to me when it comes to the country of Iran, ladies and gentlemen? It's one of the few countries left on the map that does not have a Rothschild's bank in their country. And anytime you look at any of the countries that don't have one, see what the attitude is of the State Department and the state of Israel. I can assure you, they're an enemy.
Yes.
It's pretty simple. James Fishback is not going to be the next governor of the state of Florida, but he might carve himself a nice little political career because he's a smooth son of a bitch. But the one thing you can tell from this interaction, he's a snake.
Yeah.
He doesn't give off any type of a trustworthy vibe. I don't know who in the hell thought he was trustworthy in the first place.
Yeah, but let's be very clear. Byron Donald, not either. So we're not by any means saying that that's a good choice.
No.
That probably is what you're going to have. But yeah, I'm not a fan of his at all. I think that it's not, again, and here's the thing. I really don't have a horse in that race anymore. I live in Georgia now. So.
A state that has a little bit more going for it than our state does, unfortunately.
A little bit.
In the end, the state of Florida is a state that is very populist and hinges much more so on what we could do at the ballot box regarding ballot measures. That's where you can actually have change in the state of Florida.
It's hard. They spend so much money and they only have to keep it, and you have to pass everything at like the 60%, it's just.
Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you were being serious and that I should actually run for governor, just for fun. How would you see me doing this? As a Republican, as a Democrat, as an independent? How would you see me doing this? And how do you think I'm going to get around the entire state? Where's the money coming from? Do you know how hard it is to run for office at a congressional level? You want to add the hardest level to run for? First of all, if you were to take, after president, What is the hardest thing to run for in the United States? Run for governor in one of the 4 major states, Florida, Texas, California, New York. Try doing that and seeing what type of work that involves. If
Honestly, running any statewide race in those places is incredibly difficult to do.
And I'm not saying that I couldn't be capable of running for high office. I'm not opposed to doing it one day. But if you go in, running for political office is kind of like having a baby. Like if you
How do you know what it's like to have a baby?
This is what I do know.
How do you know what it's like to run for office?
I ran alongside you. I know what hell you
I know,
through.
but you
Point being is that if you don't know what you're getting yourself into, at least on a marginal level, you are going to be fucked 9 ways to Sunday. It will eat at you, and they are relentless. And let me tell you, you're dealing with half-wits, you're dealing with loners, losers, sick people in more ways than one. You're dealing with backstabbers. You are dealing with opportunists. You are dealing with desperate people.
Can I ask you what any of this has to do with having a baby?
I just said, you are putting yourself in a position where you really do not know what it's like to have your entire life upended. That's what
That part, yes. But once you got into like thieves and liars and all that, we lost the baby analogy.
Hey, it's a lot of things you got to do. In the end, running for office is a devastatingly hard thing to do, but also what we do is hard. You know, when you're running a podcast, and especially one where if there is any dependency to make money, to make a living, we see this with a lot of channels that have a tendency to make sacrifices. And by sacrifices, we mean they decide not to fight for the mission and they decide to fight for their pocketbook. And we've seen that forever and a day. Forever and a day. We understand that doing the channel, we are in harm's way by doing what we do. We know that. Because at any moment, they can pull the rug out from under us. Last night, in less than 24 hours, the Michael Jackson clip that I did over the weekend, it's already over 20,000 views. Do you know what else it has? It has limited income potential. Why? Not because we're playing any type of a clip that's inappropriate or anything. No, it's because we're touching on subjects that the powers that be don't want us to be able to make any money on. So naturally, we are in a situation similar to our friend Guy Christensen, where if you speak truth to power, you are at the whim of the powers that be, who will now decide, I don't like these guys. Let's get rid of them. Not because we did anything wrong. It's because the people who are in power right now, not forever, but the people who are in power right now are going to see to it to try to suppress, silence, and shut down everybody who does not walk that line. We have come to the acceptance part of what we do, that if we get shut down, we get shut down. But we're not going to change who we are.
But saying that, everybody, if go join on Rumble. Go join on Rumble just in case.
Make sure you join on Rumble. Yes, a revolutionary change on Rumble. And also, if you are so inclined, and we always recommend, and we'll do that when we go through our Patreons in a little while, we always recommend that you also, right above Jen's head, check out our PAC, our Super PAC, right there. Check out the Super PAC. Take your phone, take your QR code, give it a look.
What's the Rumble link? People want the Rumble link.
Revolutionary change on Rumble, ladies and gentlemen. That's
I don't know. You guys want links. I don't have links. I just have names. Our guest is ready. I'm going to adjust this. This is bothering me.
Guy Christensen is one of the best activists, and I don't want to say youthful activists, because honestly, age is it really is just a number. Because
it is and it isn't, and we'll get into that.
Well, he has more courage and conviction than most people that are seasoned and have gone through different life experiences. He's still a young lad who's learning the ways of the world. But the one thing he is not young at is young at heart. He's got an old soul, and he cares for humanity in a way that very few do. And he, unfortunately, is already finding out in a very profound way what the powers that be are going to try to do to shut him down, as he recently experienced with his own channel. And he's here to share with us what that experience has been like and how we can help each other going forward. Guy Christensen, welcome back to Revolutionary Change.
Oh my goodness. You guys know this is the first podcast I've come back to, right?
No, really?
I'm happy to be back. It's great to see you, Jen and Peter.
Yeah, it's good to see you. I mean, I know you were here and we were just talking about it, and I get what Peter's saying in terms of it isn't age, but with you especially, there's a couple other people. It's like you are somewhere in between my two boys' age. Okay. So it's like, to me, you're a kid. And so
Yeah.
I have this certain sense of like protectiveness that is really makes it over infuriating to me that they're going after you. And I know that that's sort of like a mama thing, but it really does, it does matter to me, because I feel like older people that have been doing this have an obligation to, you know, not just pass the baton, but protect those people. And it's extra infuriating. So that's why the age thing sort of does matter
No,
to me.
I like
you know
being
what I
called
mean?
like a youth activist though, because you know, that tells other people in Gen Z that we're together here. Like this is something we all need to be fighting for.
I would ask you what your experience has been like right off the bat using Upscrolled. Obviously, TikTok is a place where we use it specifically just to clip, you know, conversations from the podcast. We're not on there, like in the sense that, oh, let me make a TikTok video, etc. What has been your experience? And I am assuming you've transitioned away from TikTok into Upscrolled. What has that whole experience been like thus far?
Well, Upscrolled's been great. I was on Upscrolled before, you know, it went off and got millions of users. This was like, I think it launched around the summer last year. And I was reached out to by the team, by the founder, Assam Hijazi. We're friends now. Because he knew that I was someone who needed a space where I could be safe and my words could be protected. And so I was happy to just join and get on there and start building. And it's been great. I think it's a lot less stress. It's not crazy like these other platforms. I'm not worried about having my videos taken down or having to censor my language or not being able to talk about certain things or like avoid entire topics because they're just inadmissible under their, you know, censorship regime. So I'm really enjoying Upscrolled. I'm even more surprised that it's continued to grow so rapidly. It's still in those top charts, and you know, it's just a great thing. And of course, it's coming under. I think it was 2 days ago. It was removed by Google from the Google Play Store. I think Zionists had flooded the app with as much vitriolic illegal content as they could, and then went to Google and said, "Hey, look, you need to take this down. They're not removing it." But they've done this playbook before. Luckily, Google has restored it. You know, Assam and the team. I'm not trying to speak on their behalf, but they resolved it. But on top of that, we had Assam being labeled anti-Semite of the week, and I told him, "Yo, welcome to the club. You didn't do anything. In fact, like I sympathize so much with him because, like, if you guys don't know his story, he's a Palestinian Australian, and Assam had 60 family members slaughtered by Israel in this genocide. And, you know, he
Didn't know
was
that
working
one.
in tech, and it's so sad. And this like motivated him to leave his job and try to do what he could to stop his people from being erased in the ways he knew how. So that meant online and the erasure of the Palestinian identity online. And so Upscrolled is like his soul. It really is. And it's something special that I'm looking forward to being a part of and helping build in the future.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. And I am hopeful that this succeeds around sort of it seems like the powers that be are going to do whatever they can to make that not succeed. Right. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we need to, I mean, they must expect that. And is he in Australia? Is that where
Yes.
he's based? He's in Australia.
There were some rumors going around that something was based in the UAE. That's total lies. Nothing's based.
Oh, I
Not
didn't
the
even know that.
servers,
And here's the thing. I wouldn't care
not
anyway.
anything.
I don't care.
At least not in the United States or based in Israel, like many of these companies are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're based in Ireland and in Australia. Those are the
Okay,
two
so
countries.
talk about what happened with your YouTube channel. My understanding is it's back up now.
Yes.
Okay, so
Thank God.
but talk about like, because how many subs do you have? Where were you at in terms of like how long you've been doing this when like all of a sudden they just shut down your channel? Like,
And what exactly was it that they said, "Oh, we have to shut you down over this," basically?
Yeah, I'll talk about all of that. So, I mean, I was over the weekend going to DC. I was literally on the road, and I've been doing YouTube as part of my branching out to wherever I can. So they can't take me down all at once. That's pretty much the goal. And I also want to disseminate my content to as many people as possible. YouTube is part of that, even though it's like all these other like X, TikTok, Instagram. These are all like corrupt, owned by corrupt and the most evil criminals in the world. But unfortunately, to get your message out, you have to be on these. So that's why, I've been pushing YouTube. And I really only started doing YouTube about like 4 or 5 months ago, right? So I had a small account, only 50,000 followers. And so I didn't feel like I was making any huge waves on the platform. And I knew that YouTube has been removing NGOs, human rights groups, particularly Palestinian ones, erasing their documentation of these war crimes and exposing these war criminals. So, the platform is I'm utterly disgusted by it, but I knew that there was censorship in this way. And so I've deliberately self-censored myself. I've avoided talking about resistance groups, certain topics. Like even, again, I said this a little bit earlier, like avoiding entire topics where it's based on something a resistance group said, for example, right? I'll avoid that. And it's unfortunate that that's the way it has to be. But I knew that I wanted to keep YouTube, right? Ideally. And so doing this would avoid any problems. They wouldn't be able to justify taking my account down for if I praised a criminal terrorist organization designated by the U.S. State Department. And that's exactly, like, it didn't matter. That's exactly what they took me down for. And again, I self-censored. So I was on the road. I got an email from YouTube and they were like, we terminated your account, like entire page. I'm like so confused because I didn't even upload a video like that day myself. And on top of that, I didn't have any warnings at all. Like there was my account wasn't at risk. It wasn't, being looked at by the platform for any, naughty behavior, at least explicitly. And so I was like, holy crap, this is, I for context, I've been traveling all week. I was in Doha and then I, went home for like a day. Then I went to DC. So I'm bouncing back and forth. And I really sat back in this during this car ride. I'm like, every single platform has censored me this week. So TikTok took away my monetization. That was a big part of how I support myself, on top of my Substack. And so that dealt a big hit, put me in a difficult financial situation. The TikTok support told me that when I reached out to ask them why they did that someone at TikTok, it was a top-down decision to switch my account from a creator one to a business one, which automatically forfeits all my rewards. So I had January, a few $1,000s I was going to use that on my rent, and they just took it. And it was out of my control. They changed my account settings against my will. So that was ridiculous. And then Instagram banned like my, 8th iteration on there, continuing the pattern of blacklisting my identity from using Meta products, which started back when I got expelled from Ohio State last year over my TikTok videos. And so it was now 3 platforms that had literally just censored me. And so while I was driving, I tried my best. I made cries for help to the community. I'm like, if this is, if you were going to stand for me ever to protect my voice, this is it right now. Can we rally to reinstate my account and do something? Because I just realized like they're trying to silence me completely this week. That was the goal. And so fortunately, everyone, who saw that came to my defense, they rallied. It was a really incredible feeling. And, Drop Site News, Wally Rashid. I want to shout out some of these people who dropped what they were doing to, Wally made a 10-minute video as soon as I told him I got banned and he posted it. Like he really dropped everything he was doing to.
Yeah, that's how I found out. That's how I found out.
Really?
Was from watching Wally. Yes.
There you go.
Wally's friend of the show. So yeah.
Yes,
like you were
I
saying,
love Wally. I was actually with him early in the week. He's a great guy. I met him for the first time in real life. But yeah, so everyone rallied on X is where a lot of this pressure started happening. And because of that, we were able to get one of those trending news tabs on the front page of X that said like Guy Christensen terminated by YouTube over activism. And it had like 14,000 posts underneath it. There was no comparable political news headline going on that night. And so it was the number one. And about an hour or two after this started rolling and we started mounting pressure, X removed it from the list of headlines. Like they just deleted it. Of course they did. And they also, I was like, what's going on? Like, why can't I see this anymore? Because I was monitoring it. I was like, I really want like to do whatever I can right now because it's fresh and it's critical to act right now. While it's still time to reverse it, like if I waited a week, it would have probably have been a different story. And so I was concerned, and I looked up my own account on X, and my account didn't pop up. You could type in your favorite guy, you could type in my full name, you could type in my username, it would not pop up. I haven't checked as of recent. That may still be the case. None of my posts that had gone viral were popping up either. So it was now X, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube all censoring me in the same week. It really felt coordinated. And if you want to hear my theory about that, when I was in Doha,
curious because no, it's what it sounds like to me is you really pissed off someone, someone in particular that really wants to mess with you, and because we all are talking about a lot of these same things. So I am curious your theory.
Guy, did you piss off Lizzie Savetsky? Is that what you did? Did you piss off the Jappy princess? Did you piss off?
I think that
I mean, a lot of people are doing like what you're like. It's not like you're the only person doing it, and so I am curious what your theory is.
I think that it was what I did in Doha in Qatar. I went to the Al Jazeera forum. I'm proud to say, I'm just going to brag right here, I was the youngest speaker at that annual forum.
Awesome.
So, I went there with a goal, and that was to deliver a message about Israel's Eighth Front. I'm sure the show is aware about what that involves, you know, forcing the sale of TikTok to an ally of Netanyahu, buying CBS, pouring hundreds of millions into paid influencers in the United States, all these things. And so I took that message to the forum. That was my main message. Every single chance I got, I shouted out. I called out Jonathan Greenblatt. I called out Netanyahu. I called out those paid influencers because I felt the world needed to know, like, this is the important thing right now. They're controlling where free speech happens in the public square, the digital square. And the goal is to erase Palestinian. It's to erase resistance. It's to erase organizing for the next generation. Like they don't want the next generation to be aware about all these things because they really fucked up. They really fucked up letting it go like this. And so I called it out, and I think that, you know, it was the day I was flying back. The Israeli Foreign Ministry on X posted a picture of me, you know, trying to stir up some attacks against me. You know, the tweet didn't really go viral, but I definitely knew that Israel was watching what I just said at the forum. And so the best explanation, the theory that I'm going with right now, is that it was because I called them out blatantly what they're doing and controlling our social media algorithms and controlling the information that's being permitted for people to talk about online. And they use their levers in all of these social media companies, which is exactly what I'm talking about. They've hired Unit 8200 soldiers at Meta, which it was a Unit 8200 soldier who blacklisted me. I was informed this by members of Meta's moderation team. And so, like, it was exactly the levers I had warned about. Like, this is how they are silencing people. And it was being done to me. Like, of course, I faced censorship, but on every platform in the same week, not before.
Yeah. So where have you so what has now happened since then? So you've got some of it back.
Yes. So the good news is that, well, I don't know what time it was when they banned me on Friday, but I since that until I slept at like 4 a.m. I was rallying people, trying to do whatever I could. I only slept for a few hours, but when I woke up, I had I skipped a part. Sorry. I did appeal in the app, which YouTube replied to my ex post about. They're like, please, you know, do an appeal in your app and we'll look at it. And so I did. And you can only write like 100 words, which is ridiculous. Nice. And they immediately denied that appeal. And they gave me a screen that said, your account's never going to be restored forever. There's no way to get it back. So that's what I went to sleep on, right? And we had the X News story removed. And when I woke up, I had another email in my inbox from YouTube saying that they had reinstated my account. And I was like, holy shit, no way this actually worked. And I opened it. My account was back. All my followers were there. My monetization wasn't even taken away, which was important for me, losing TikTok. And so I looked at what and X also put back that news headline. It had over 50,000 posts on it. I was just very grateful, like amazed, astonished at how everyone rallied for me. And so we got the YouTube back. As of now, still blacklisted on Meta, still demonetized on TikTok. These are unfortunate things. I don't know if I'll be able to remonetize on TikTok. I'm verified. I've been like a loyal creator to them since I was like 13 years old. Like that's where I still record my videos natively in the app. Like I'm loyal to them in that way, and it feels like they don't even appreciate.
But you're not loyal to Empire.
Yeah, I'm not loyal to Empire.
And in
but
the end,
I think the big lesson that comes out of this, and not only from what happened with me with being able to get my YouTube back, which wouldn't have happened to anyone or to me if I didn't make any noise. Right. It was only the public pressure that forced them to issue a response. People were canceling their YouTube premiums and other Google services. And I bet they looked at that and said, oh, shit, there's going to be news stories tomorrow about how we killed the account of one of the most prominent Gen Z activists and one of the most prominent Gen Z activists about Palestine. And, you know, we're going to lose 50,000. We're going to lose $100,000 this year over this. Is it worth the bad press? People leaving down the line, people leaving, like that multiplies, as we know that boycotts do. But the main lesson here is that we look at how public pressure successfully restored my YouTube account, even though they denied my appeal. We look at what happened with Track Apex Instagram a few weeks ago. They had that removed by Meta. And again, people rallied online and forced Meta to respond and restore that, which was huge. And we also had Bassan's TikTok account when right after Larry Ellison took over, he banned her Palestinian voice as a survivor of this genocide. And she went immediately to Upscrolled, and she has, I don't know, like 70, 80,000 followers on there now, which is impressive considering there's only a few million people on the app. But this is a model, is what that tells us. We need to stand in solidarity with each other when one of our voices are silenced, because they're trying to pick us off one by one. And they will pick us off one by one. We've already lost so many people. You know, I was on James Lee's podcast.
Another anti-Semite of the week. Yeah.
Oh, we're all in such a great circle here.
Yeah, he's an anti-Semite.
He had his TikTok removed, and unfortunately, we didn't rally enough to get that back. And so it's sad. We have already lost voices. We can't lose anymore. And so what I've been trying to do is build a collective to replicate this model in the future for other people.
Let's do it.
Yeah. I'll invite you guys.
I mean, I think we've talked a lot about what will happen when the tech oligarchy just ultimately decides, okay, we're done with these people. And at the end of the day, we really don't have any recourse from that. We really don't. Yeah. And so then it becomes, all right, well, this is where we start to think about what organizing looks like in real life and what's going to start happening at local levels, at state levels, because they will get to the point where they shut all this down. I do believe that.
The more the walls close in, the more that they realize that the thing that they do not understand is that they're on borrowed time. And while I think some of them are aware that they are, and they're trying to figure out, what different pathways could we go down. Your story in so many ways mirrors a story that we have been covering for a long time. And I am going to call an audible here on the channel in terms of a story that I think we need to cover, because this is something that has been coming to this was at the forefront today, as it has been for the past few days, as I am sure you are aware of, and Jen, you are probably aware of as well. They are coming so hard at Francesca Albanese right now to basically to bury her 6 feet deep, because that's what they're trying to do. There have been calls from Germany, France, and even Italy to basically silence this woman. And
the EU is so pathetic. Can I just say that? They're so weak and pathetic. We're disgusting empire. They're like our weak and pathetic toadies. Ugh.
Oh, indeed. And so as it turns out, Amnesty International, to their credit, comes out and says global European states must retract outrageous attacks against UN Special Rapporteur Francesca Albanese. Reacting to calls by ministers and officials in France and Czechia for Francesca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in the Palestinian territory occupied since 1967, 1948, to resign, Amnesty International's Secretary General Agnes Callamard said it is reprehensible that ministers in Austria, Czechia, France, Germany, and Italy, where Francesca's from, have attacked the UN Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territory based on a deliberately truncated video to misrepresent and gravely misconstrue her messages, as is clear from watching her original address in its entirety. The ministers have spread disinformation, must act beyond merely deleting their comments on social media, as some have done. They must publicly apologize and retract any calls for Francesca's resignation. Their governments must also investigate how disinformation happened with a view to preventing such situations. If only these ministers had been as loud and forceful in confronting a state committing genocide, unlawful occupation, and apartheid as they have in attacking a UN expert. Their cowardice and refusal to hold Israel accountable stand in stark contrast to the Special Rapporteur's unwavering commitment to speaking truth to power. Israeli military operations in the occupied Gaza Strip have continued, killing over 590 Palestinians on paper since October 2025. The estimated death toll of Palestinian victims since October 2023 now stands at 72,000 times 10. Not only does this allow Israel to violate international law with impunity, but it also effectively undermines the integrity of crucial international human rights mechanisms that were adopted to protect us all. Israel is content to drag the entire world down with it on its way out. That's what I see.
Francesca is one of the only, human beings left in the UN. The only people who has morals and a compass. And I don't think people understand this, but her role as repertoire is unpaid. It's a volunteer role. She is not paid at all. She's given up her career to do this. And guess what? In a few years, when she, the roles, it's like a revolving door. You're repertoire for a certain number of years, and then it becomes a new person. After she's out, she is subject and not protected from the U.S. sanctions. So why would she give up all of this, all of her life and her career to speak out against genocide for nothing, to ruin her life? She's the most noble human being, one of the most noble human beings on the planet. And so I've been raising my voice all this week to stand up for her against these attacks. They made up a fake AI video, and then Israel took that video, went to these foreign ministers, and they said, go and ask for her resignation. And I heard that there were potential criminal investigations against the French minister with the UN. No?
Jen, what have you always said about Israel when they're speaking?
How do you know they're lying? Their lips are moving. Yep.
This is why this story is so significant. As you alluded to, they shut you down. And if you don't have anybody who's going to back you up, you probably will stay down. But if you have a network of people that support you and want to make sure that your channel stays alive, you coordinate that network and make sure that, hey, we've got to fight together. Over 100 global artists backed Francesca Albanese amid criticism over Gaza remarks. The only thing we can say positively about any of these developments is that at least Francesca's not standing all by herself. She is a revered hero around the globe, and it is imperative that we keep speaking up about why this is so imperative, that we do not lose sight of it, because I do believe that the worse things get, the more they are going to continue to spiral for Israel, the more that the Samson option becomes a more devastating reality as far as what they're going to be willing to do. Honestly, I don't think anything's off the table as far as they're concerned. That's my opinion.
I agree.
No, these are psychopathic people. They don't, I mean, they're delusional. It's like this mass delusion, like a cult mentality. And they're psychopathic. And they are absolutely willing to take everybody out with them. They are. That's what's concerning. That's the sort of what we can't predict. That's the unaccounted for psychosis right there, is what is that freak show going to do over there with that?
My opinion's that if we ever got to the precipice of cutting off military funding in our partnership and our defense of Israel in a meaningful way, they would launch nukes.
That's
against us. Against us.
Against us.
Against us. We are not their allies. We are useful, as they call us. We are their useful idiots. They will not hesitate to attack us if it's in their benefit. That's the whole point.
Well, we've had 3 USS Liberty survivors on this channel.
Mm-hmm.
So we are under no delusion that Israel doesn't attack the United States. They are not our friend. They are not our friend. They're a parasite. But unfortunately, it's worked its way into the gray matter of our host. And so now it is sort of like that's what's pulling the strings, but that's what they are. It's like
I think that like there was a point where the US empire saw it beneficial to have this relationship with Israel, and we let it go too far. We let it go, unchecked lobbying, and now we're stuck in this position in a way. Our Congress is stuck with a supermajority of people paid to be there to fund Israel and give them whatever they want. We're stuck. We fucked ourselves over by letting them exist without safeguards and guidelines. Like, no matter, like, it's not in the interest of the American empire anymore. Like, that's the thing.
no, hasn't been in a long time.
It hasn't been. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get into it a little later on this evening, but even something as obvious as LeBron James talking about Israel. And then you think about the fact that Steph Curry is an investor in Israel's military. And apparently Kevin Durant is as well. You're talking about the 3 biggest NBA stars over the past decade plus that are involved in this. I mean, this thing goes deep.
40% of, team owners in the NBA are Jewish Zionists. 40%. It's insane. And I just made a video about this, so I'll throw a little bit of, if you haven't covered this already.
Yeah.
But I've been waiting for this backlash for like 3 years. I'm someone who wore Kyrie's as a kid. Now he's been absolutely amazing. Shout out Kyrie. Like on Kyrie Irving on Palestine, the whole entire time stood on business. In fact, he's calling on people to even go to the Capitol this summer. I just saw, but like he's like an activist now, and it's really inspiring for me as someone who has given up and sacrificed for humanity to see him do the same thing. That's what tells us he's a real human being, unlike these genocide profiteers, the owners of the league, these NBA players who they don't even need the money is the thing. You think Steph Curry, you think LeBron needs any more money?
The one thing you have to remember is that the thing that a lot of people value, and again, it's cliche because it's one of the 7 deadly sins, but a lot of people value vanity. Vanity is very important to a lot of people. Sometimes being invited to that exclusive party is more important than actually having the money to afford to be able to go to them. To get that call, oh, we're having this special after party. You want to come? Let me tell you, I was driving on the causeway in Miami one night back when I lived in South Florida, and I'm driving along the causeway across from Star Island, and I know where Diddy's house was, and I could see that there was a party going on. This is at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. It was like a red light party, and you see this from the causeway when you're driving. You think, oh my God, it's a Diddy, blah, 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 blah. And for a lot of people, they're enamored with the concept of being in that world. And the thing that's so interesting about being in that world, as many people are starting to realize, is that if you get in there, you have certain rules that you have to abide by in order to stay in it. And if you break any of those rules, you're out, and you're out for good. And even if you make pilgrimage, as some others have, then you just basically become their cuck in so many ways. That's why I always revert back to somebody like Elon Musk. Elon is not a Zionist. He's playing the role, because right after October 7th happened, he said some very favorable things about Palestinians, and boy, did he get his mind right very quickly. They dragged his ass out to the wall, made him lick it with Ben Shapiro standing next to him.
That's twice.
Oh, God. He said like he would want to give Starlink access to the humanitarians in Gaza. And Netanyahu told him, we're going to shoot your satellites out of the sky. Like, I don't think he even believes in like his great replacement theory, white nationalist bullshit. Like, it's just a tool for him. Like, so is everything. So is the reason exactly what you're saying about how he switched and became a cuck for Israel, because it was profitable for him. They were going to shut down his businesses if he did not comply with what they wanted.
I know this is a saying that has been going around for a long time. No, it's not a big club. It's a small club, and you're not invited.
Right.
That's why it's a select few group of people that actually make it there. The other thing, and again, we're not going to play the clip, but the thing that was so telling, because, and I mean everybody, and Colin, if you can just grab the Spike Lee picture. I want to put that up for a second. I want people to understand that Spike Lee, yeah, he's controversial, but he is an influencer if there ever was one. And the amount of controversy that came from this last night, I mean, you would think that there was a nuclear bomb that was set off in Israel. That's how significant of a problem this was for so many people. And you know what? I am willing to believe beyond any doubt that the Israeli player, who I will not even dignify addressing his name because he's a cocksucker in his own right, and yes, I'm going to call him that, he probably wasn't actually voted into that All-Star game. They probably had the whole thing set up to make sure that he got in there. That's why Noah Tishby was sitting courtside for the game the other day.
Yeah.
There is this massive PR effort that is going on. And whether or not Spike was doing this as a fuck you to Israel, which in part I'm sure it was, that's what a person with actual conviction and courage does. Why is it that only he and Kyrie Irving are the only two prominent people of what
Dwight Howard
considered prominence in the NBA was actually willing to do that? Why is everybody else stone silent?
Dwight Howard also spoke out for the NBA.
Yes.
I'm sorry, for Palestine.
All right, so we have a
wanna
question,
mention
and I'm going to do it because this is good. So they want to know what you suggest other Gen Zers should be paying attention to. What actions do you suggest for Gen Z? I'm assuming he means like young activist people, not just the entire generation. But
there's a lot of young activists over in Palestine right now who you can go follow, Palestinian Voices. I feel like that is listening to the source, and most of what I do, I try to follow from the direction of Palestinians, what they want. I mean, that's, we're an extension of them. That's how I view myself. Another, he's Israeli, Andre X. He's done a lot of great work covering Zionist settler terrorism in the West Bank. And when it comes to actions, we should be building right now. Like, we need to be building movements on the ground. We need to, whatever like interest you're in, maybe you're doing like sports journalism, get people together and start trying to do something to push the envelope on these anti-imperialism, on anti-Zionist things. Maybe you just have to plug yourself into your local groups who already have a list of every single issue that your locality should care about. They're already doing stuff. You just need to go find them because they're out there and they need people. They need young people to put our bodies on the line. Like, that's what we're for. We're here to put ourselves at risk. Like, literally, this is, why we're young. We don't have money. We don't have this financial backing like the older generations. We have our energy. We have our fire inside of us, and we need to use that and lead others. That's the point of Gen Z. And I think we all understand here that if we don't change it now, if we don't succeed, if Gen Z fails here, it is over. Everything's over. It's not just about Palestine, which their liberation is tied to all of ours, of course, but we are growing up in a country in the United States and around the world that we have worse living conditions than last, worse wages, worse opportunities. Here, I have no expectation of owning a home no matter what I do, even being so prominent. No expectation of owning a home. No expectation of being able to afford children. These are basic things. These are very, very basic human things, to have a family, to live comfortably and live safely, and we have none of them. And so if we fail here, if we fail to topple this elite class, the ruling class, these pedophiles, it's over. There won't be another generation from us. We won't be able to reproduce.
Right.
Like, this is, I'm not even on some like we're dying out thing that conservatives are. This is just the facts here. I talk to my friends. They feel the same exact way. They know that, bro, I have no idea when I'll be able to move out of my parents' house. The housing market is totally fucked. I probably won't own a home. I'm going to rent a box from Blackstone for the rest of my life if I'm lucky, let alone think about having kids. Like, these are realities. And I think that, at the same time, We need to be standing up, particularly against the rights that are being crushed, like free speech, protest, boycott, in regards to Israel in the United States. And I think that's a very powerful pressure point. All Americans, you can convince them to care about these things if it's being done on behalf of a foreign nation, regardless of what they feel about Israel.
Right.
It's a very strong pressure point. Obviously, it's horrifying when you understand the whole picture of how many thousands have been arrested for these things and jailed and deported. Like, I'm sure the number of victims in this country who've had their free speech and these other rights violated number in the close to 100,000 or more, mostly young people. And so we need to be fighting. That's the message there. Fight.
Yeah, I have a question. So is there any recourse like with school? Like, and you know, again, I'm going back to like this sort of like maternal thing. Like, why is Ohio State not have any sort of like accountability for you? Like, what is going on there with that? How did they get
Have you not seen what we just did the other night with Gordon Gee and his relationship with Les Wexner? Where do you think it comes from?
Well, you know, and you saw me in the chat. So Gordon Gee was the president at the University of Colorado my freshman year at the University of Colorado. So this was back in a long time ago.
Yeah.
And a long time ago. And I met him. It was very weird. I was in my dorm and he was doing something like walking around and like meeting different freshmen. And he came right up to me and he was such a dork and he had a bow tie on and everything. And he came right up to me and he puts his hand out and he's like, Gordon Gee, president of the university. And I'm like, Jen Pilchick's student. And I was like, this is very strange, but it's weird to see that name come circulating again. But what happens now? Like, what are your any academic like interest, if any, or do you just think, what's the point?
I mean, I hope to finish my degree. I'll say that. But you have to remember, and again, Gordon Gee, like I saw that video and I wasn't surprised. It was related to the new civic center that they set up at Ohio State and hired a bunch of like white nationalists, allies and adjacents and nationalists themselves to run that. It's very low attendance records, actually. It's funny. It was created under Ohio's education reform bill that they passed during my freshman year. The entire campus at Ohio State came out to protest that. They got rid of DEI, but also any controversial topics from being taught at Ohio State, which meant you want to talk about climate change. We don't know if it's happening or if it's not. Slavery, was it bad? Was it good? We can't say. These topics, I look back at Ohio State on our course list. I look at the classes I was attending during my freshman year. Half of them are gone. Half of them are gone. They erased it with this stupid reform bill passed by conservatives that run amok in Ohio. And that's what happened with the Civic Center. That's why Gordon Gee was there.
Right.
And it didn't surprise me. I thought that it would actually happen earlier, where a journalist would get punched by someone affiliated with the administration because they don't care about your free speech there. They don't respect it there. And that's why I don't want to go back, and I didn't ask to go back in our lawsuit against Ohio State.
Where about but nowhere else, even if it wasn't Ohio State? No.
Maybe somewhere international.
Yeah, that's what I would do. That's what I would do if I were you.
There is something to be said for just everything.
If you go to Finland, you can afford to live, you know? I mean, I guess you have to be able to live there. I mean, I don't know what their legal things are, but you know, like you get parental leave, you get health care, you get all sorts of good stuff.
We're watching in real time the collapse of the system. And I think it's very difficult for people to really wrap their heads around it. If you have time, if you have a little bit of time, we have a very special guest coming on at the top of the hour. Have you ever spoken to Margaret Kimberley before?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you need to meet Margaret. Margaret's awesome. She is the managing editor at the Black Agenda Report, and also has a show. She's on YouTube as well, but she's a historian. She's a journalist. She's an activist. She's amazing. And I
don't want to steal her thunder and her time on here.
No,
so maybe, I mean, how close are we? Oh, 8:42. At 9, you said?
Yeah, that's okay. It doesn't look. Yeah, no, it's all good. I just think that I think that your parents should be very proud of you. That's what I think.
I'm proud of you guys, and thank you for having me on the show again. You know,
Yeah.
I'll come back anytime. Just text me.
Yeah,
all right?
I'm just glad you got your channel back. Well, as soon as I saw that happen, I messaged Peter and I'm like, we got to have Guy come on the show because something went down with his channel. And I'm not on a lot of social media. I only watch YouTube.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I didn't know that you were reinstated as soon. I'm always like the last person to know shit.
One question for you guys. Are you guys on Substack yet?
You know, everybody, Peter, technically we have
I don't want to
Substack,
start anything,
but it's like neither of us really want to feel, I mean, I guess for me, I don't want to feel forced to write. Like sometimes something will come to me and I'll write it, but like, I don't like the idea of feeling like it's hard enough for us, for me anyway, to just have this content that I'm doing.
I still think that if
twice a week.
Again, depending on how long it would need to be, I still think doing something once a week or once every other week is perfectly acceptable. And we could either collab together, or I can do it, or you could do it, etc. And you know, it doesn't have to be that often. That's the thing
Peter
about
loves to give me projects for which I never get paid.
Excuse
Peter's
me.
been giving me unpaid projects since I met him. Actually, yeah, since 2018.
Hey, the good thing about Substack is you get paid from it. It's a good.
Okay, there, Peter. Figure out how we can get paid. I'll be more interested in Substack.
No, it's totally like one of the best for independent voices and podcasts, and
Rachel,
you can live stream on there. You don't have to post text posts. I'll just tell you guys that.
And
I've been
that's the thing.
recommending
Now I
everyone.
know their video now, which is really cool. When they first started, it wasn't, and then I knew they added video, and I know we should probably.
I've been putting all my videos on there. Like it's a good platform. I'm just recommending it.
Yeah, no, I think that's smart. I think you're right. We should do that.
You know what? Since you are here, and we have about 15 minutes before the top of the hour, Jen, I think we could cover the China story.
No, we're gonna do Randy Swine.
Oh, you want to do Randy Swine?
Yeah, we're gonna do China at the end. China.
Okay. So,
oh, by the way, if you haven't seen what we're covering about China, just so you know, guys, that somebody who was there and basically filmed how their hospital system worked and how convenient it was, and how like just the healthcare process. So yeah, it was very interesting. That's when I talk about the China situation, it's how their healthcare works over there. Yeah,
it's positive.
Yes, it is positive, but no, we need to talk about Randy Swine.
If you guys haven't done, and now I have to go, and thank you guys for having me. But if you guys want to do another thing in the future, I could come on and talk about Israel's Eighth Front. If you haven't done a segment on that, I think it'll be great. But thank you guys, Jen, Peter.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Always
guys.
a pleasure.
Good to
keep
see
fighting
you.
the good fight, brother. Great to see you.
Thank you. You too, guys. Bye-bye. Free Palestine.
Free Palestine. Oh, it's like he already knows our
Such a nice boy. He's such a nice boy.
Yeah, you want to say he's a nice little Jewish boy, but he's not. Do they even exist?
No, I don't want to say that. I just want to say he's such a nice boy.
He's a nice boy. He's got gotta pinch the cheeks kind of thing.
It makes me. It really does make me so enraged that they're going after him. It's just.
Josie, who's one of our OGs, says that Substack video is much better. That's interesting. So I would
if you want to post, I have recently stopped uploading to Spotify, and I'm going to tell you why. One, people be telling me that they're not great either in terms of their crap that they do, but not that. I had like anywhere between 10 to 13 people that would watch it, and it takes so much time for me to do it, to download it and upload it and all of it and convert it to the MP3 file and all this stuff. So I'm just not doing it anymore.
We'll look into
There's not enough people.
If you're enjoying these conversations, which we hope you are, Lord knows it's like a drill in my head sometimes, but hey, this is why we do what we do. Please go to patreon.com/revolutionary change. For as little as $5 a month, you can become a supporter of our small but mighty, yet still growing, despite being a heavily suppressed channel that gets pointed out constantly. But we're going to keep fighting the good fight. Sammy, 1973, thank you for being a 3-month member. Good to see you, Jen and Peter. Good to see you, Sammy. Jim Talib with the $5. Thank you very, very much. Miley's channel with the £5. Yes, it's Nutlick, and that was fake crying. Yes, it definitely was fake crying. And sometimes you can fake your way through a few tears, but there was something very disingenuous about that cry, wouldn't you say?
He's a complete snake oil salesman. Yes, there's something very disingenuous about somebody who would be the Secretary of Commerce. Yes, I think there's something very suspicious about that.
Libertarian Social Dem with the 199. Maybe the racist won't let Zio Donalds win. No. There's not as many racists out there as you might think. It's not as big as people think.
No.
It's there, but again, Byron Donalds is going to be the governor.
Yeah, he's going to be.
Libertarian Social Dem with the 199. Maybe the racists won't vote for Donalds. Doesn't matter. Again, like I said, even if they don't, doesn't matter.
No.
Libertarian Social Dem with the 199 again. Jen, can you talk about Messianic Jews?
Well, I don't, that's something I don't know that much about, other than when you say Messianic Jews, we're talking about Jews that believe Jesus was the Messiah, which is sort of like Jews for Jesus in a way, but not really to me. Like, I'm not entirely sure how that works, but Messianic Jews are Jews that follow Christ. It's very strange to me. I don't know that much more than that, but it's its own thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
That's basically all I really know about Messianic Jews.
Big shout out to Nancy Bernard with the 1999. I love Guy. Thank you, Jen and Peter, for having him on your amazing show, and free Palestine. Well, I think we can agree with all of that. And who do we have next? Tropical Ding Dong. Well, I'm sure you have your reasons for that name. Thank you for the $10. You'll always be a victim to censorship and corporate-owned platforms. Community-owned, community-supported social media is the answer. Mastodon, Lemmy, Loops, PeerTube, own your own social media. Again, this is why we work together.
I don't know enough about any of that stuff to be able to do that.
If Israel's doing anything, it's bringing a lot of us people together, that's for sure.
Of course.
ZR2 Jake with the $5. You help those who still have their souls begin the great noticing. I am a United States Air Force vet, and I was on my dorm room floor in Germany on 9/11. Liar Lutnick. Liar Butnick. 100%. Thank you for your service, Jake. Kenman with the $6.99 Canadian A. Israel cannot be stopped. Best we can hope for is justice. Israel cannot be stopped. Best we can hope for is justice. I don't know if it was intentional to do it
I don't
twice,
think so, but
it's
funny that you did it. It's funny that you read it.
There you go. Citizen Pendejo with the 50 pesos. F intent, make guilt by association great again. It should be enough to throw you in jail, but I'll settle for it being disqualifying from banking government. Look, if there's one thing I think we can all agree on right now, is that we are living through some type of a revolutionary period. There is something significant happening, and we are doing everything in our capacity to help facilitate. And that's our job. And finally, Nawal Najer, great to see you. Thank you so much for the 1999. Thank you, Guy, Peter, and Jen, for your support. Free Palestine. Appreciate you, my friend. So, one more time, patreon.com/revolutionary change. You can also support us, as you know, at our PAC, our super PAC, Revolutionary Change PAC. And if you have not checked it out yet, please do. Right over Jen's shoulder. Go give her a look or see. I think that would be a great place to go. Randy Swine, Jen.
Randy Swine.
Randy Swine.
Randy Swine. I mean, again, we have a whole night of what we're dealing with here, people. And in the case of Swine, we're also potentially dealing with someone who hasn't seen it in a really long time. So it's not just understanding small dick energy, it's even finding small dick energy. You know what I mean? In some cases.
We have gone over this, and anytime people that are overly projecting the way that they do, you really have to ask yourself, what exactly is it that they're hiding? Now, Colin,
with him, it's a lot of different things, I think.
His overprojection is just something that is deeply disturbing. And of course, we obviously have to talk about the tweet that he put out today, which friend of the show, I want to make sure I say her name right, Nerween Kaswani. So I think that what she ended up saying was taken out of context. That's my question. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to send it to Colin. But this is what evidently is what set this whole thing off in the first place. Nerween put out a message. Mr. Swine responded to it. And Colin, can I please get that clip? It is, I mean, we could talk about the fact that he obviously has been illegally voting, but there is really something to be said.
Well, not everybody knows that, right? You're gonna, so a video has surfaced, or I thought that's what we were showing.
Yeah, well, we've got two things to cover here, which I think are important. The first one, which I think is kind of, you could say that it's kind of the setup for this particular story. I don't know why only you have it. So you give me 1 second. I got to get it over to him. Guys, this picture is too good. We have to use it. Obviously, Track APAC has been giving.
So we talked a little bit about this clip of Randy Fine walking through the legislative chamber and voting for other people and doing it as if he doesn't want to be seen, right? So he wasn't doing it overtly. He was trying to be sneaky about it, but he isn't, because it's hard to be sneaky when you're so noticeable. But he was voting for other people. He was pushing their vote buttons. And I want to make it very clear that we know that this goes on. This goes on in Congress. I actually think that video of him is from the Florida legislature. If it's from 24, it's from the Florida legislature. But people need to be aware that this happens. This happens because most of the time, Congress, they don't show up to actually vote. They don't show up to vote. And so there are a lot of times where other people are pushing buttons, whether with their acknowledgement or without their acknowledgement or however it goes. Now, I don't know who he was voting for, but he was walking through and he hit like 4 other people's vote buttons on their tables in the chamber.
Mm-hmm.
So here it is. I think we have it queued up here. Oh God.
Well, let's just remind ourselves of who this cow is, because he is a cow.
Here he is, guys. Look, so watch him looking around like no one's looking. No one's looking. I'm gonna push that button. I'm gonna push that button. I'm gonna push that button. 4. He just pushed 4 vote buttons while seemingly looking around like no one's looking.
And the other thing,
and if this is from 2024, then I'm going to assume that's the Florida legislature. So it's Tallahassee.
Yep.
And again, this is something that goes on all over the place. Just be aware of that. Now, who knows who sits in those seats, who he's voting for? No idea. Doesn't really matter. As far as the legality of it, it seems like something that would be very illegal to me. It also seems like something that would be an ethics violation for that governing body that they would take into consideration if they weren't such filthy fucks as well. So if there was any recourse for this, it would only be because there were people that in that position that had any amount of integrity. And I just don't think we do. So even though we're watching him do something completely unethical and I believe illegal, it doesn't matter, because the people that would have to bring charges against him would have to then acknowledge that they all do it. Same as why you don't get presidents to prosecute prior administrations. Same thing.
That's the thing about Wasserman Schultz, is that she was casting votes for the late Alcee Hastings for almost 4 years. 2 congressional terms, she was casting his vote, even though he was half dead. Didn't matter.
No.
Because who's going to prosecute? This is the thing about plausible deniability. No one ever gets called out for this. And more importantly, those people don't have to show up to work like everyone else has to show up to work. They don't show up to vote. They don't show up. A lot of them don't really participate at all, and they just collect a paycheck. Now, because this guy is such a filthy bastard and he makes statements to the effect of, if they force us to choose, the choice between dogs and Muslims is not a difficult one. Again, who in the hell was even debating that this was even an issue? That's what I don't understand. This idea that, oh, you have to choose between dogs and Muslims. First of all, you're talking about Muslims like they're animals, which of course is what you believe. You would know because you are an animal yourself. You would potentially be a connoisseur of sorts about animal-like behavior. But I got to tell you, the one thing that has always been suggested about Muslims is that they're, as you said, filthy, unkempt, savage type people. They are some of the cleanest, most sanitary people you will ever be around. So the idea that you're going to throw this out there is ridiculous. Now, if you scroll down ever so slightly.
Oh, what was this in reference to? Why did he put
a friend
that
of the
out?
show, Nurdeen Kaswani, put out this statement. Finally, New York City is coming to Islam. Dogs definitely have a place in society, just not as indoor pets. Like we've said all along, they are unclean. Now, what exactly is Nurdeen referring to? She is referring to something that you, Jen, have pointed out many a times before. If you live in a place like New York City in a 200 to 300 square foot apartment, keeping a dog in an apartment in New York City, it's not exactly a good environment to be keeping them in. If you have a tiny dog, maybe, but we all know that that's not really the case. So,
I don't know that I agree with somebody just generally putting out that you not having dogs as indoor pets. Like, I guess I'm not really understanding the premise of this.
Well, again, like I said, I think the context of it being the fact that I think she's referring to pets within New York City. She's not necessarily referring to dogs being indoor pets in just any place. Again, context is important here.
But I don't know. Just saying they are unclean is kind of weird. I'm not liking, like, I don't appreciate Swine's response to this, but this is kind of a dumb post.
Yeah, I would agree. And again, I think that
I don't get what that means. Dogs.
Well, I would invite her on the show to come and defend it and say, okay, so could you clarify what this means? If you want to talk about the fact that dogs.
No, I mean, obviously what she's talking about is that, I guess, in certain Muslim households or Muslim culture, that dogs are mostly outdoor pets because they don't think of them as clean. I'm assuming that's what this means, but it just seems kind of, I don't know. There's too many dog owners and too many people that are dog people to think that comment is going to go over well.
But then how do you take it a step further and say, well, if we have to decide between dogs and Muslims, again, you're referring to people as if they're animals. And that is something that Randy Fine all too often is ready, willing, and able to do, is to talk about people in that context. Why would he do that, Colin?
We already established why he would do that. We know why he would do that. This is the key. This is the key reason why Randy Fine does everything. Okay. We've discussed this.
Well, that really is a very accurate depiction of him, I have to say.
I got to say, Track APAC did outdo themselves with that one.
I lived with 4 dogs and 3 cats in a 500 square foot apartment. Perfectly fine. It's all up to the owner. Sadly, most dog owners are dumb.
Exactly. Yes, exactly, Colin.
But this in so many ways just perfectly captures a person who, again, has no business being a federal legislator, much less a public figure. And the only reason why he is one is because he is backed and protected by the state of Israel. This is a guy who didn't even live in the congressional district. This is a guy who the people, his constituents, they hate him. But here's the problem. We're starting to realize that, do we honestly have real elections in this country anymore? Have we ever really had elections in this country? I don't know, Jen, but I bet you our guest of the evening could probably tell us whether that's true or not.
Or wait, have you come up with our poll questions yet? Because you're back in this thing where you think there's good presidents. And I, again, do not think there's good presidents. I think they all suck.
Let's let our esteemed guest, who we love dearly, come on.
All right, but wait. I got to bring this up because we're bringing Margaret in. So guys, in honor of President's Day again, let me present the story of de-evolution, a history of President's Day in the United States. This is what we're dealing with, people. So, yes.
You're a really terrible person, and I don't really appreciate you showing me sleepy time, but hey, it is what it is.
Would you prefer me to show you shitting yourself? Would you prefer that?
From the Black Agenda Report, author of Prejudential, what a time to have her. You know where you love her. Margaret Kimberley, welcome back to Revolutionary Change.
Hi, how are you? Good to be here. It's been a while.
Hi, it has been a while. Good to see you. I was watching you on with, I'm losing my mind. Were you on with Dimitri? You were on with Dimitri. Because I watched so many different people, and I'm like, I know I saw her on with somebody. Yeah, it was Dimitri. It was great. It does seem very appropriate for you to be here on President's Day, which again, I do think it's ridiculous that we celebrate President's Day when in fact every day is President's Day. What day is not President's Day, Margaret?
I don't know. I have no idea. There's always a president, right?
Well,
But
I mean, it's like every day celebrates them. What day is People Day? They get President's Day is every day.
it is. Their faces are on the money, and now we have a president. His name is on everything. The Kennedy Center. The what else?
Excuse me. It is now the Kennedy Trump Center. Let's get it right. Very important.
Which he drove into the ground, but that's the other thing. So now we have a president who just in case you don't know who the president of the United States is, it's this
he
man.
was just here the other day.
What's that?
He was just here the other day. He flew in for the 6th time. He keeps his primary office in Tel Aviv, but he decides to come to the States every once in a while. That's
Well, why not? I mean, let's make it official. He runs the place, right? I mean, you were just talking about AIPAC and Randy Fine. So yeah, that's true. But yes, it is President's Day, and I'll just show my book.
Everybody needs to read Presidential. And I always say the cool thing is you don't even have to go in order. Like you could jump around. It's really interesting. Like, yeah, it doesn't have to. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But Peter had said when we first came on, he sort of named who he thinks are the key, like the 4 most, what did you say, influential presidents we've had?
When history, again, this is scholarly history.
So we're going to do a poll and see, Colin, if you would, when you get a chance.
They often say that the best of the bunch, if you will, because there's not much to write home about, is Washington, Lincoln, and the 2 Roosevelts, and I would argue for JFK. However, when you think about the worst presidents in the history of this country, I think that there's probably some people on that list that a lot of people don't argue. I could make the argument for both FDR and Truman in terms of what they did. I would definitely make an argument for LBJ. I would 1000% make the argument for Woodrow Wilson, who I do believe was the worst president of the 20th century. I would make an argument for George W. Bush. I would make the argument for, if you really want to be specific about manifest destiny, Andrew Jackson doesn't often get talked about enough in terms of things that he did.
Okay, so who are the 4 though? No. You started with the 4. You said Lincoln.
Wait, 4 best, 4 worst, you're saying?
No, most notable. It was sort of like the most, like, who were the 4 that you said?
If I had to pick 4, I would pick Washington, Lincoln.
You didn't say that before. You said Lincoln.
That's what I said. No, I said Washington, Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, and JFK. I would replace FD because I do think that there are a lot of things. I think the whitewashing of FDR's history is way too thick at this point. Like there's just way too much. And again, the most popular social program in our nation's history is Social Security. So I'm not going to take that away, but he was the president for over 12 years. There's a lot of things that took place over the time that he was in the White House, not the least of which was the fact that we probably didn't need to have a second world war, but that's a whole other argument. So like I said, there's many layers.
Not. I want to know body counts. Okay. So the way I'm going to determine worst presidents is body count. So let's take Truman off the table off the bat, right? So then, because that's just like kind of all at once, right? But I guess, Margaret, who would you say, like you wrote the book literally, who would you pick? If you had to pick like a few presidents that you think were at least worthwhile and noteworthy or anything like that.
Well, they all had their contradictions, which is the point of the book. So you can admire, let's start with Lincoln. He kept the Union together. He was the president during the Civil War, but he was never anti-slavery, really. He tied even the Emancipation Proclamation. He tied that to, they called it colonization, sending Black people out of the country. Worst of all, he chose Andrew Johnson as his running mate, who was a Southerner and a pro-Confederate. So the country couldn't even move in the direction it should have after the Civil War. So much more could have been done to protect the rights of Black people if there'd been someone in that position instead of Andrew Johnson. So I understand why people mention his name. FDR, there is a lot of whitewashing of FDR. He was, lest we forget, the Democrats were the party of the segregated South at the time. And he did, and the excuse was always, well, I would do this or that, but I'm depending on the Dixiecrats to get things done. So you just be quiet, Black people. So there is also that he did want the U.S. in that war. There's so many questions about Pearl Harbor. Johnson, but I want to give credit to the people and the mass movement, which moved Johnson. We wouldn't have Medicaid or Medicare if it weren't for that movement that pushed Johnson. So those programs exist today, although it looks like they're destroying Medicaid. So it's difficult. It's a difficult question to answer. It's, with my politics, it's a question of bad or really bad or worse. So that's what I have to say about the presidents. I think Trump should go down in history as one of the worst. We're talking about a very radical agenda, a radical right-wing agenda, which they are proposing denaturalizing people. Mm-hmm. So people who've been naturalized citizens, they actually have a quota of 200, I think it was 200 people every month that they are going to investigate. I mean, it's obviously a fishing expedition. There's no reason it's very rare for people to be denaturalized, and it should be. We see what ICE is doing around the country. We see him destroying these social programs that people have depended on for decades. His saying he should nationalize the elections. The states are in charge of elections, period, the end. But of course, if you go into Georgia and snatch the ballots, we don't even know what's being done with these ballots. What are they going to say after it happens? But I think all the things that make Trump bad are worse because we have a political system. The Democrats are irrelevant. They're completely irrelevant.
Yes.
Yeah, they are. Everyone's called him a fascist, and I'm not going to correct you for calling him a fascist. But does Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, did they call him a fascist? Does Kamala Harris ever, she wants to run for president again. I don't know why, but anyway.
For the love of all that is holy.
Margaret, people got to get paid. And we were just talking about this the other day about why AOC is going to run for president, because in the independent media circuit, it's great for business. If people were willing to get on the bandwagon for 6 months with Marianne Williamson, just think of what they'll be willing to do with AOC and how far they will stretch that out to make money. You'll have people on the left that will be buffing her up like she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then you'll have people on the right who will be looking to dissect every single thing she says and clipping it for money and power. So it's a circus. There's bread. But of all the people that I think can speak on this, it is too obvious, even to the layperson, that this is a collapsing empire. Yes. This country is falling apart. There is a complete lack of trust in the institutions, the system now. Money doesn't mean anything. There's really something to be said for when you have federally elected legislators, even somebody like Ro Khanna, who's done a couple of good things. He does insider trading through his wife. It's like at some point you just have to say, this is a broken system. I'm not even going to attempt to play within it anymore. I can't play within this illusion that this is real. It's not real. And the more people wake up to that reality is the faster we're going to get to some type of a revolution.
Well, I think it's very important what you just said. We have a society in a state of collapse. We have more and more, things you can see, people living on the street. There's been a news story circulating for the past week about more and more quote unquote middle-class people selling their plasma in order to make ends meet. College not being worth what it used to be worth, going into debt to go to college to try to find a job, but now AI has gotten rid of your jobs. And can we talk about AI, these data centers? If you use, I don't feel the need to use it. If you do use it, you're sucking up our water supply. You're making these billionaires worth even more than they are. We have a political system that's a joke, an alleged opposition party, which is quiet about all the things that we just talked about. They're not forcefully discussing any of these things. And even the Republicans, Trump's going around them. He doesn't.
Well, this is something I wanted to say. So when you were talking about, like, Trump being one of the worst presidents and all of these things, we see the harm domestically, which we know is linked. I mean, it's all connected with just general oppression that we're seeing globally. But I want to you to verify this for me, because I am very clear that for those of us like you and me, where we didn't vote for either of those buffoons that were running, really, right? Because at the end of the day, let's say Kamala had won. Do you think there would be any meaningful differences right now? And I mean, other than maybe press secretary commentary, you know what I mean?
Well, I think things would be. One of the things that makes Trump difficult is that he does things that other people would not do. Kamala Harris wouldn't be naming everything after herself or tearing down the White House to build a ballroom that nobody wants her. I don't think she would unleash ISIS. She would deport people, that's for sure. It wouldn't be this way. I don't think they'd be buying up warehouses to store people as they're being deported. So the worst parts of Trump she would not probably be doing. Would she be having a war against Iran? Probably. And that's coming. It's coming within the next few weeks. There's another aircraft carrier that will be there in a few weeks, and it's expected. That's when the war that Israel wants, the U.S. wants it too. I don't want to say that nobody in the U.S. wants it, but you mentioned Netanyahu come running back and forth to Washington all the time. He wants to make sure they're not going to get cold feet. And even though Russia and China will help with some intelligence and maybe some weapons, he wants to make sure this is going to get done. I don't think he has anything to worry about. But imagine, speaking of world wars, this could be the thing that sets it off.
Yeah. That
the United States has decided to try to destroy this country. And maybe they can, and maybe they can't. It's going to bring down some of U.S. allies. Iran proved in this 12-day war, so-called, that it has more military strength than anybody thought. Now they've recalibrated, but so has the U.S. So I don't know how things are going to turn out, but he's ratcheted up things that other presidents have done. But as I've said again, all of these people who are supposed to be so wonderful, the AOCs and the Kamala Harrises and the Schumers and blah, 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 none of them talk about Trump in the way that they should. They still are in a position of wanting to cut. That's generally what happens to the minority when they're out. They, throw them some crumbs. They get to be part of the system. Trump has cut them out completely, but he's cut Republicans out also.
Right.
So we have this country being run by a mad king, but I suppose that's the trajectory we should expect with a low, you mentioned trust. We have a very low trust society in general. We have a political system that's run by oligarchs who want to make sure we do not get anything we need or want. I am of the opinion, I think Gaza played a role in Kamala Harris's defeat, but I think the biggest thing is that those stimulus programs that were helping people disappeared. I really think if people had still been getting a child tax credit, they would have said, Joe looks senile, but whatever, I got my child tax credit. But this was something people need, and it's off the table. It's off the agenda. It cannot be discussed. The national health insurance, all of these things, the things that we know that people need. People were kicked off Medicaid, kicked off of SNAP, which they're trying to do away with anyway. So all of those things that the Democrats are supposed to be in support of, that they just, their oligarchs told them, you're not helping anybody. We told you what to do. And so we had an ineffectual, phony party and a seriously right-wing party. And that means the people are getting screwed. And there's less and less trust, legitimacy. I mean, look at and one of the things that helps Trump is the weakness of the liberal class. He tells these universities, you're going to, give us money, or, we're going to shut you down, or you don't need research for cancer, which we depend on universities to do. And the law firms that have given in to him, as he says, are kissing my ass. Well, he's right. They have. So all of the illegitimacy is coming to a head, and people who are struggling with jobs, if they have them, and this AI is a menace. It is posing dangers to our very existence, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that. So this is the system that we have. We have the rich in control. We have inequality getting worse and worse all the time, a political system that is a joke. And so here we are on the precipice of economic collapse, world wars, and politicians who are worthless, who can't even, it used to be they could pretend, they could give us the impression that there was a system that worked for us a little bit some of the time, but now they can't even do that.
That's all.
No, they don't care anymore, because it's like, I think it's almost like they're all scrambling to grasp whatever is left from the falling empire. It's almost like it's in their death throes, and they don't even care that the curtain has fallen and that we're seeing all of this. And, this is what fascinates me about the Epstein stuff. It's that we know these things, and yet nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. So it's almost like, why do they even care if we know? Why not just tell us all of it?
Well, it's not that nothing is going to happen. It's that it's going to happen when eventually the people decide that they've had enough. How many different ways do you have to be poked in the eye? Now,
oh, I mean accountability, justice, accountability for.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Like, it's like nobody's gonna.
But at the same time, when you think about everything that's going on right now, all roads lead to Israel, and all of these connections between us and them, we are one and the same. But it is so very telling, because, again, as a New Yorker, I'm sure you saw what went down last night at the All-Star game. There's a lot of different things that one can point to where you would say, okay, this doesn't make any sense. You've got this Israeli that somehow ended up in the All-Star game. He clearly was nowhere near an All-Star caliber player, but he ended up getting voted in. You saw
that's such a surprise, really? They cheated?
Yes, very much so. And then you see all of these other people that showed up at the game, including New York's very own Noah Tishby, celebrating this guy like he's some type of a hero. This is the part of the story from the NBA All-Star game that I think is the most important.
From Channel 14 in Israel, for all the Israeli fans, what message would you like to send for Israel, and also what do you think about Danny Avdia?
Well, I've been quoted on Danny already, and they asked me what I thought about this season. I said I believe he was an all-star, and I mean, he is an all-star. He's playing exceptional basketball. So that's that. And then I mean, if I have fans over there, I've never been there. If I have fans over there, then I hope you have been following my career. I hope I inspire people over there to not only want to be great in sports, but I want you to be better in general in life. So hopefully someday I can make it over there. Like I said, I've never been over there, but I've heard nothing but great things. And
he's heard nothing but great things. This is so disappointing.
I mean, he's buried his entire reputation over the past decade plus. I mean, listen, he's an all-time great basketball player. He's not Michael Jordan, and as far as I'm concerned, he's not even Larry Bird. Like, the idea that there's been, I mean, honestly, Margaret, I was a basketball player. I loved the game for many years. I can remember where I was the night LeBron made his decision to go to Miami. And I remember saying, this is going to ruin the sport. Like I had this very unsettling feeling that it was going to set a very negative precedent as far as where the league was.
He's a sellout is what I feel like right now. This is pathetic. What are your thoughts?
But on top of everything else, just the fact that he's sitting there saying, I ain't heard nothing but good things about Israel. You mean like the time he was caught on camera saying, ain't no party like a Diddy party? This guy has got some serious skeletons in his closet. Please tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I don't know what skeletons he has in his closet, but everybody knows that Israel rules. So you have this Israeli reporter ask him this question. I'd never heard of this Israeli guy until yesterday, until this press conference. And he knows right away what he's supposed to say.
Yeah.
He's supposed to say something positive about Israel. Mm-hmm. He couldn't even say, she says, what do you want your fans in Israel to know? I'm glad I have fans all over the world. God bless you. Next question. No, he knows he has to say there's good things, or I hear about good things going on over there. But that's who he's always been. When he was with Cleveland and little boy Tamir Rice, 11 years old, killed by the police, he was asked about it and he said, I don't know much about it. I mean, that told me everything I needed to know about LeBron James, plus all the flopping around. You know, it's funny. My partner loves basketball. He can't stand LeBron James. He's always talking about him flopping around. He's not the all-time great.
No.
He says, I think maybe he's on steroids. I mean, I don't know. Nothing good. I don't, what do I know about the NBA? Nothing. So I depend on other people I trust to tell me.
Hey, listen, Margaret, a story that still is being suppressed because remember, this is capitalism and this is late stage capitalism. LeBron is still this is what I try to explain to people about those that don't get taken down when it's obvious that they should be. If you are still a valuable commodity to the capitalist machine, you are protected. The second you are no longer valuable is the second all of these stories are going to come out in mass. I hope LeBron has some type of a visa exit strategy because he's going to need it when it's all said and done.
I don't know if you saw the comment, but like I was thinking, you know, I think about people like Muhammad Ali that took political stands and gave up and potentially ruined their careers. I mean, he didn't, but like, this is so cowardly and so pathetic. And then I saw somebody sort of had a better thought, which is, you know, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he is not, because it's like, it's disappointing.
Well, it is very disappointing, but I'll tell you one thing that's different. They didn't make this kind of money back in the day.
That's true.
Our athletes, they were giving up less.
Yes.
If they stood up. Now they're giving up a lot. But he's made millions of dollars.
Oh, he's a billionaire. He's a billionaire.
He's fine. He's at the end of his career. Is he early 40s, I believe?
Yeah, I think he's 40 now.
Yeah, 40. So he's not going to be playing much longer. I mean, if there was ever a time to show a little bit of courage, this would be it. I mean, to think you have to say something nice about Israel or I'm going there. But he knew, even if nobody told him, if I'm going to be in their good graces, I got to say something good about Israel. And it is disgraceful. And the level of Zionist influence in this country, and as we're seeing with the Epstein files, the UK, we've already had a top British official have to step down, this Mandelson. His chief of staff had to quit. Stand with Israel. See, there you go.
By the way, but wait. Notice the date.
Yes.
That's already 2 years in.
2 years, yes, 2 years into the genocide, but I'm going to stand with Israel. So, you know, he knows the deal. And
now let's flip it around to somebody who was one of his all-time teammates who actually does understand the meaning of courage, and that is Kyrie Irving.
Just like you put things out there, right? Yeah, but it's not.
You put things out there for a living, right?
Right, but my stuff is not.
So let's move on.
Filled with anti-Semitic.
Let's move on. Don't dehumanize me up here.
I'm not doing that.
Another
You're
human
free to
being.
post
I can post whatever I want. So say that and shut it down and move on to the next question.
But Kyrie, you have to understand that.
I don't have to understand anything.
But you have to understand, we don't feel safe.
I love that.
Say
That's the
things
best
like that.
response. It's the best. I don't have to understand anything. I love that.
He said, I remember when they were forcing all the NBA players to be vaccinated for COVID, and he refused.
Yeah.
And there are places where he couldn't play. He couldn't play in New York.
And he lost millions of dollars. Millions.
He did. And he said the anti-Semitic stuff. He said something anti-Semitic. I don't recall that.
What did he say that was you mean he said something anti-Israel?
Well, yeah. Well, that's what it means now. It's it's a term that doesn't mean anything anymore.
Nope.
It's
Colin, grab those pics, please. First one of Kyrie.
You know, I heard this saying that anti-Semitism anti-Semitism were people that didn't like Jews, and now it's people that Jews don't like, right? Like that's where we've gotten.
Yes, it is. It is. And now it's like, so the result is I was made anti-Semite of the week or something.
Another one. We've had two. We've had two tonight.
So like,
if a prominent a black intellectual in New York is not being named anti-Semite of the week, you're doing something wrong. So congratulations. You did what you needed to do.
Thank you. It was more than a year ago. I said something about Iran. And I was sort of joking. I said, okay, Iran, do us a solid. I said, but there's a groups I'm affiliated
Here you
with.
go, Margaret. We're cheering to you tonight.
I'm cooking another joint. That's cute. Their server crashed. They got thousands of emails against me. I was attacked on Twitter. And now it's like that was a term anti-Semite that I would have recoiled from. I wouldn't want to be thought of as someone who hates anybody because of the
wear it as a badge of honor.
But now that it means being against genocide, okay, go ahead, call me that.
Yeah, we had just before you were. We had, I don't know if you're familiar with the young activist guy, Christensen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he was on because they'd shut down his YouTube channel and he got it reinstated or whatever. And we had him on and he also was an anti-Semite of the week. So I just think that's great. We had two in one night. That's awesome.
Well, now you want to talk about courage under fire because Kyrie Irving has always stood on principle. Not only did he show up at the All-Star game last night in Los Angeles, but this is what he was wearing. He wore one of the press shirts in honor of the press journalists that were murdered in Israel. That's him and his father.
Wow.
He was raised by a single father in, I forget the name of the town. He's from Jersey, like me. I forget I think it was.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's by New Brunswick. I forget. Well, that's why you could see he's got the New Jersey hat on. Everyone thinks that's a Yankee hat. It's actually it's an NJ hat to show pride. Because I don't know if he went to it wasn't Christ the King, but he went to like one of those top, almost like Bobby Hurley type basketball schools where again he's an incredible player, but he's an even more incredible human. And I have no doubt.
Look, if that's what he's going to age into, that's pretty fine. Let me tell you something. The salt and pepper is very, very appealing to me.
Well, it's interesting that he pays homage to these Palestinian journalists who were murdered and with their entire families. And Israel made sure, they called it Where's Daddy? They killed people when they knew they were home with their families. And then you have these journalistic organizations. What is it? Coalition to Protect Journalists.
It's not.
They're supposed to have an index of which countries are worse for journalists. And of course, that has to be Israel. But no, they covered up for them because they were afraid. And so it's very important for somebody to stand up. Does the New York Times, the Washington Post, do any of them stand up for these Palestinian journalists? Any of the networks? No, they have not. People being more journalists killed in Gaza than were killed in all of World War II, something like that. And the media doesn't say anything about their colleagues. It's like a profile in cowardice. So that's a beautiful photo. I love that.
One could say that the people that aren't saying anything, they're not really journalists.
No.
One could say that the people that aren't saying anything are just talking heads and tools for capital, and that they're not actually journalists, and that actual journalists would say something.
Yes.
That's what I think. So I think that they just showed their whole asses out there when they don't say that, because now you're just showing that you're not a journalist. You're a fraud.
Now, if you want to see the person who caused the greatest shitstorm of all, fellow New Yorker, Colin, please cue it up. I know you'll appreciate this one. And this is the one that set the Zionists off the hardest. This is the one that literally had them calling for him to be banned from all.
I'm surprised they don't want to denaturalize him. Can we? Did they try to denaturalize Spike Lee? Let's see.
Colin, where are you? That's not it.
That's not it. That looks like New Jersey. Okay, there it is. Wait, you had it. Go back, Spike. There he is.
He shows up at All-Star Weekend dressed like this, and they all lost their mind. There are people calling for him to lose his season tickets. Don't ever let him into Madison Square Garden ever again.
Oh, my God.
This is the person who made Do the Right Thing and then followed it up with Malcolm X. This is a person who understands what it means to take chances and to be a voice for the people.
It's the man purse for me. It's the man purse, or the merce, rather, that does it for me.
Well, it's a great outfit. It's eye-catching, that's for sure. But I love the Palestinian motif on the man purse. but it's the way the Zionists work, they are so petty. Have you heard the story about the British Museum? They're trying to force the British Museum. It's called the UK Lawyers for Israel. I didn't know Israel needed lawyers. They have pressured the British Museum to remove the word Palestine from certain displays. We'll say Canaan instead of Palestine. So they've done this. They bragged about doing this. Now the British Museum is claiming, well, we just, did a refresh. We changed some names. And I'm like, you did it. You did what they told you to do. This story broke yesterday, Sunday. And now the British Museum has, as far as I know, did not make a statement today where they could have either confirmed or denied it, which tells me that they did it. And that is the sort of thing that runs the world. That people can snap their fingers, and these supposedly august institutions talk about a weak liberal class. I mean, that's represented by the British Museum, although some people are saying, well, they stole everything in there. What do you expect?
Well, there is that, right? Like there's that. So it's like, if you're going to steal our stuff, we're going to lie about it too, I guess, goes with it. But I mean, that makes sense. But you know what? That's the most Florida thing I have heard that I can imagine the UK doing. That's the most Florida thing ever. Like we rename stuff in our book. Like that is a very Florida thing.
Yeah. So anyway, but I just wanted to bring that up of, and in the UK with Starmer's government, I mean, he's in trouble. He may have to resign because of his, Epstein had his fingers in everything. Epstein bought off the Norwegian diplomats who were negotiating the Oslo Accords. He gave them money. He gave their kids money. And we wonder why.
Where do you think that money's coming from?
Where's the money coming from? Well, I did not know he was worth almost $600 million. I did not know that he was that wealthy.
Well, again, a lot of that money comes from Wexner, which came from Israel, which came from the State Department. Again, it's all one big circle. And these conduits, if you will, that Epstein represented for so many people, all of it was, as Whitney Webb, I always reference her, one nation under blackmail. That's basically what it is.
Well, that's what, he was in the story about him was focused on the sex trafficking. And I'm not saying it should not have been, But that was like his side hustle.
That's the small part.
Yeah.
That's the small part of the whole operation.
I mean, the goal was to, entrap and compromise. The other thing that gets me is all these people who were supposed to be so smart, the Noam Chomskys of the world, who fell in love with him. I don't know. Well, I do know why. It tells you how much, if you're rich and powerful, people will bow down to you, and we're seeing that.
Well, I even
don't have idols, people. Don't have idols, people, because you are going to be disappointed. And that is why, like, Margaret, if you were to ever tell me anything negative about Mr. Rogers, like, that would be the end for me. That would be the end for me. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just telling you, don't, because that's about all I have left.
I don't have any incriminating evidence on Mr. Rogers.
I couldn't take it.
If I do, I'll keep it to myself.
Please do. I really.
They say that the deadliest sin is greed, and it probably is, but the most underrated sin is vanity. There are people who just simply want to be a part of these. Again, you live in New York, you want to be invited to the right parties, you want to, be in the know, so to speak. It's why people actually read the nonsense that came out of Cindy Adams' mouth in the New York Post for decades and decades. Like, who gives a shit what celebrity is showing up at some stupid party? But evidently, a lot of people care about that. And the opportunity to rub elbows with them, the reason why people are enamored with celebrity culture, which I do think to an extent is dying here in society. The one thing we are learning is that you don't want to meet the people that you think are your heroes, because you're really going to be let down in most instances. I mean, I've talked at length about how much it hurts me, because Springsteen has always been very important to me in terms of his artistry, but in terms of his politics, it's basically become a nightmare. Ever since he became buddy-buddy with Obama, it became clear that that's when it changed. He basically changed the way he talked, because he understood. Bruce, listen, I appreciate you, but I got to tell you, if you're going to talk about these people, you might not get invited to these parties anymore. Jimmy Iovine, he's going to stop calling you. And I'm thinking, yeah, it's probably that simple. It doesn't matter how wealthy and influential you are. If you can't be a part of the club, so to speak, that is one of the main reasons. And then, of course, you bring in the blackmail, which comes full circle when it comes to somebody like LeBron. He clearly has stuff in his closet that he doesn't want people to know about, hence why he makes commentary. Like you said, he knew exactly what to say as soon as the issue of Israel was brought up. Why? Because he's coached, and he knows exactly how to play the game, because if he doesn't play the game, he might get himself into trouble. Or you could be like Kyrie Irving and just basically say, well, I don't give any Fs, so I'm just going to say what needs to be said. Why is this such a dangerous situation, and why does this all get talked about? Because here's what we're facing right now. According to the Israel Foreign Ministry, under existing agreements between Israel and the Palestinian Authority, Area C remains under Israeli administrative and civil authority. What that really means is they're annexing the West Bank.
Yes.
That's what they're doing.
Officially.
Officially.
Like, let us be very clear. They've been doing this. The fact that it looks like that is indicative of what they've been doing since 67. I mean, really, this is not new. The only thing that's new is, I think, that it's like some sort of formal declaration. So they're saying, okay, now it's our official policy. But really, like, it doesn't, I don't think it changes anything. Do you?
Well, I think I'll tell you one thing that's been ignored too much. I mean, with Gaza, this genocide being live streamed before our eyes, Israeli settlers have been attacking, killing people on the West Bank, stealing their animals, stealing their food. It's horrible, and it all led to this. It's all leading to this and this greater Israel project, or whatever it is they call it, a complete annihilation. And they're setting up Gaza is going to be a concentration camp.
Yep.
There's no other way around it. With this peace, I mean, sickening to me that they actually use the word peace. And their goal is to wipe people out and send them out. And they're going to they've tried to get other countries to take people in. I don't know how they're going to do it, but that is their goal. It's sickening. It's really horrible. And I blame Joe Biden. This all began with him. He's the one right after October 7th, maybe it was October 8th or 9th, he runs over there and kisses Netanyahu's ring. They went around Congress, although there's collusion there because Congress is like, don't ask us about Israeli weapons because, we don't want to be seen doing that. But everything Israel asked for and more, lying to the public. And you mentioned AOC. I will never forget at the convention, she claimed Kamala Harris was working for a ceasefire. What
working
tirelessly for a
and this complete lightweight is going to run for president in 28.
It's ridiculous. It's so silly. It really is silly.
The way that she sat on that stage and she answered about Ukraine, the way that she couldn't answer, she took 40 seconds to put two words together that wasn't the about Taiwan. Look, at the end of the day, there's a reason we call our show Revolutionary Change. Israel is not going to stop until the United States is in a revolutionary moment. That's it. There is no other way out.
And it's absolutely true. I also want to mention this Iran thing. This can go either way. The U.S. could crush Iran. They can destroy Iran, or Iran can fight back. And we don't know what's going to happen. I hate to say this, but I think something cataclysmic will have to happen for people in this country to rise up the way we ought to.
Yeah.
For there to be a general strike, for there to be a series of events outside. I think people understand now. The electoral route is not going to save us.
No,
the Democrats aren't going. Their strategy, such as it is just to hope that the Republicans are unpopular and they get back in. But Trump is like, you're not having an election, so you can just forget that. So,
even if they do, they don't have anybody. That's the truth. They have nobody.
Yeah,
they have nobody.
They can prop someone up. I mean, but that's their strategy, is to hope for some catastrophe among the Republicans. Yeah. There's nobody to save. And what happens? And nobody's going to forget. What do they do when they're in?
Nothing.
Remember?
Nothing. They do nothing.
The parliamentarians, whatever it was people wanted or needed, the parliamentarian says you can't have it.
Right. Can't. Not against the parliamentarian is in charge.
Margaret, honestly, could you even imagine somebody like William Jennings Bryan running for president in the Democratic Party today? Something like that. I mean, we are so far past any type of legitimate left populism that actually is desperately needed. And all the while we're still trying to save our necks, this is the propaganda that Israel is putting out there every day.
وأنا من الطائفة الدرزية. ملقيتها تقول كبالالو إمتى كإثيوبيانو.
أنا يودايا. أنا مسلم. أنا شرطي بشرطة إسرائيل ووظيفتنا نحافظ على الجميع.
My name is Maya. I made Aliyah from Australia.
меня зовут Дима. Я репатриировался из Беларуси. Я христианин.
Je m'appelle Bar. J'ai fait mon Aliyah de France.
وأنا ضابط شرطة إسرائيل.
And we're here to protect everyone.
Et la police est là pour protéger tout le monde.
אני שוטרת. ואנחנו שומרים על כולם.
Israel police is made up of all religions and backgrounds.
How nice. All sorts of sellouts come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. We know that.
I'm not even convinced that that's real. That looks very AI to me. What do you think?
It might be. I don't know. I wanted to ask Margaret something, though, about like when we're talking about the concentration camps that you're talking about being built, because I think they're being built here. And I think
also, yes, absolutely.
And I think that what we're going to start seeing is people that are resistance people, as well as homeless people, or people of that ilk, are going to start getting rounded up and put into facilities, because you make it illegal to be homeless. So now you have a crime just by your existence. So then that justifies locking up people. So I think like they're building facilities for people. And it's not, people who think it's going to stop with the immigrants are delusional.
Oh, they are. They are. I mean, buying but I have to tell you something. I can't remember what state it was in. Someone set fire to one of these warehouses, and then they said, deal's off. I was like, Oh, so that can work.
Apparently, thank you for the blueprint.
Yes, they but what ICE is doing, they are, and we have to give credit. You know, it's easy to be cynical, but there are people who are ready to act, and they are acting at great risk to themselves. There are still, despite the fact that they killed those 2 people in Minnesota, there's still people protesting, still people following them, still people observing them. And they're coming up with, did you see this story where they're getting female ICE officers to pretend their cars have broken down?
No.
And then if anybody comes to have this started apparently in Minnesota this week, and there have been several cases where these women, and someone said, it's not that cold in Minnesota. Why would you have your face covered? But anyway, so these ICE officers, they lift their hood, they look sad. Sometimes they ask people to help them, and the people come to help them. If they're people of color, they get snatched up. They are, you know, facial recognition. Do you know if you buy a plane ticket right now, ICE sees the TSA has to show them everyone's passenger information. So if you're undocumented, you shouldn't be on a plane. Actually, if you're documented, maybe you shouldn't be flying right now. All of these things that no one, this weak liberal class can't seem to stop. The judges say you've got to let this person go or that person go. Children locked up for months. Horror stories of people wearing diapers, lying in feces. Oh, horrible, horrible things that keep going on without a peep from Kamala Harris or AOC. They may say, do you remember the picture of AOC with the kids in cages and she's crying like this?
Yes, yes.
Anyway, she didn't even bother with that now. But you're absolutely right. But I also want to say that a lot of these things have been going on a long time. We have mass incarceration in this country. We have the biggest prison system of any country in the world. We have more police killings than any country in the world. And marginalized people have been the ones targeted. Now everybody's marginalized. Everybody is potentially a target who stands up.
We're going to conclude the show this evening with a story that I think is as imperative as any right now, because China is going to exceed us. They already have in many ways, and they're going to continue to do so. Now, you may have seen this online the other day. If there is one policy in the United States that has never made sense, ever, and the fact that the American people have ever accepted it without revolution, is healthcare. We are the only major country in the world that has a for-profit health system. Hence, as Jen likes to say, Mangione monetary theory. If you think that your life is worth more because you kill people with a fountain pen versus a handgun, well, you've got another thing coming. This is what a free health facility looks like in the very communist country of China.
Here's a hospital in China with pricing. All the pricing is public. You can go to one of these machines and you can get any quote for anything you want in the hospital. An MRI is 480 RMB, which US dollars is that. Once you have your appointment, you'll go up on that side of the hospital and then down on this side of the hospital.
For people listening, 480, whatever that currency is $70 is what it says. 480 RMB, whatever the Chinese currency is.
Chinese yuan. So
right. Just for people who are listening. So basically the MRI is $70. Okay, continue.
And the other thing that was pointed out is that what kind of set this off, and this was the tweet from the gentleman who put this together. His name is Furkan. Give me 1 second. I want to get his name right. His name is Furkan. Damn it. Where is that thing that I sent you, Colin? I got to be able to see that. Anyway, the point is the amount of money that it costs to take a first-class ticket to Beijing, stay in a 5-star hotel, get the MRI, and then fly back to the States costs less money than if you did the same procedure here in this country with health insurance.
Oh, absolutely. It's a racket. I mean, it's disgraceful to me that I mean, an MRI probably should cost $70 here. I don't know how many. I'm sure it's a couple $1,000 or whatever they want it to cost. Have you heard about this new thing, this facility fee, where you go to a doctor? Not only do you have to pay an inflated bill for your care, suddenly you get this in a facility fee. It's all to steal our money, and we're not even that healthy.
We're not any healthy. Our food is poison.
It's like we're just like we're supposed to be. I hate when people say we've got the best healthcare system in the world. No, we don't.
Only for very, very rich people. Like if you have a lot of resources, you can get good care here.
But you know that rich people here don't live as long as middle income people in other countries.
Exactly.
And I've been to China, and I have to tell you, I've been there twice in the past couple of years. They are exceeding us in every way. I was on the real high-speed rail, not this phony Amtrak, half-assed high-speed, what they're trying to call high-speed rail. But the U.S. is dedicated to trying to crush China. And that means you attack Venezuela because China's buying oil from Venezuela. You surround China with military bases. You make sure the countries surrounding China are destabilized because that is the goal, to do this country to separate it from Russia. I mean, it's diabolical, really, that the U.S. is dedicated to having control, absolute domination over the entire world, and is killing everybody. It's killing us. It's killing people literally around the world. But we're the ones who have to stand up. And I'll try to end on a positive note. It's up to the people to figure out how to undo this. And it is up to us. It's just us. It's not some candidate. It's not some half-assed political party. It's going to have to be us. A general strike. I don't know how it's all going to begin. But if we don't take action, we're in very, very big trouble.
It will only come in the pocketbook. General strike, BDS. That's it.
Once you have your appointment, you'll go up on that side of the hospital and then down on this side of the hospital. So that'll take you up as far as you need to go and down. You go to the right floor and the right section. All right, so this is in English, right? Self-check-in, area B, floor 4. And then you'll scan your QR code on your ticket on this thing and it will...
Just the fact that they are so accommodating to Americans there, the fact that they have things in English, and I guarantee you that's the only language that they probably make accommodations for, and yet all we want to do is talk about how they're the great red menace and that we have to destroy them. This is also part and parcel why they say that the United States is the most propagandized nation in the world by a wide margin, and I definitely agree with that.
We are. Where everybody talks about MAGA being brainwashed, they're not the only brainwashed people in the country. We all are. You have to fight hard not to be brainwashed, which is why your show is so important. Independent media is so important. Thank you for accommodating me with my late availability, but it's great to have been back, and we need to support each other. It's got to be independent media.
Let's
yeah,
finish
I also wait. Are you going to finish this out?
Let's finish it out.
All right,
tell you when your appointment's going to be. Boom. Waiting areas typically look like this, and then the numbers are on the screen up there. So once your number's called, you go back and see the doctor. The doctor's office look like these. When you go in, it's just the doctor. Maybe there's a nurse in there as well, like doing all the record keeping and note taking. And you'll talk to them directly. You'll pay everything in there. It's very easy and straightforward. If they order you a blood test, this is the area you go to. So you'll scan on those machines over there. These folks here are the ones that take your blood. It's extremely fast and efficient. Probably takes 5 minutes to do a blood test, and you get the results on your phone. So anyways, guys, this is China. Hopefully this is helpful. Shows you a side of China you wouldn't otherwise see or hear.
It's amazing. And yet, we're so advanced. We're so advanced. Oh, I just wanted to tell you, Margaret, before you go, a couple of weeks ago, I did this virtual event called Mission Abolition. And we streamed a friend of mine's movie. It's called Reimagining Safety. I don't know if you've heard of this movie.
No, I haven't.
It's called Reimagining Safety. The filmmaker is Matthew Solomon. And this has already been out for a while. And it's really good movie. And we streamed that. And then the next day we had all these panel discussions. And it was just really interesting. And I thought you might find that interesting.
Well, I'd like to reimagine safety, because what is safety? They make you afraid of crime and tell you you've got to spend money on prisons and cops, and not about health care, not about being housed, not about being employed. It's all punitive and
propaganda.
Yes.
Propaganda.
Yeah.
It's a jobs program.
It's a jobs program.
This is the collapse of empire. Just be prepared for painful days, but also a lot of liberating days, because once you know the change is happening, it can be very, it can be alleviating in a lot of respects. Because the one thing that I think is always the most difficult to deal with is doubt. I think doubt more than anything. People questioning constantly, what's the problem? What's the issue here? Well, the good news is that I think we've identified what the real problems are. It is the State Department.
Capital. Yes, capitalism. That's the problem. And white supremacy. I'm going to say those two. Pick me.
There you go. I say that all the time. The two biggest problems in the United States are racism and capitalism. And that's, yes, and the foundations of the country, which is the point of my book, Prejudential.
And guys, again, check it out. Definitely check out Prejudential. It's a good read, and you'll learn all sorts of things. If you have any president you like, you won't. You won't. It's
my next book, I've been thinking, what am I, because this book's a few years old now. I'm going to write a book about people you should know, you should admire, who you don't hear much about or who've been demonized. Now I know what I'm going to write.
All right, that's awesome.
Let's end on this note. I agree with you. There is a lot more bad to be said than good about any of these leaders we've ever had. But don't start with me, Jen. I am just going to say that without question, if there is one thing that you can say positive about one president, Teddy Roosevelt is responsible for the U.S. National Park System. And having just gone to Yosemite in California, fact that maybe the only thing that we hold sacred in terms of environmental protection, to be able to go to places like Yellowstone, to go to places like the Grand Canyon.
For now, till Trump starts drilling. He's going to start drilling in Yosemite next. You know it.
But it was an incredible experience. And if there's one thing that I can say that was done positively by a previous president, the U.S. National Park System may be one of the rare things that we can hang our hat on. But as we know, saying something positive about the history of our leaders is an anomaly. It's not the norm. And I hope more people start to wake up to that fact.
Thank you, Margaret. Happy President's Day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good to be here. Bye-bye.
Have a good night. One of our favorites. And if you are still here, which we have gone very long tonight, but we are wrapping up. We hope you enjoyed. Please consider going to patreon.com/revolutionary change for as little as $5 a month. You can still become a supporter of our small but mighty, yet still growing, despite being a suppressed channel.
I was going to say still growing and still suppressed channel.
Very much so. But we do have a few more super chats that we must go to. Cray97 with the $2. Thank you very, very much.
Cray.
Gedward Bobby with the 10 Canadian A. The Canadians are out in force tonight on our channel. We love it.
They feel sorry for us. They do. They feel sorry for us. And I want to like the amount of Canuckies that don't come now, that have not this entire season. It's been a big hit. It's been a big hit. The Canadian Snowbirds have not come this year. They did not. I mean, it's not good.
Good point. The from Libertarian Social Dem with the $4.99. The Epstein-Zio elites hated Michael Jackson because, unlike LeBron, he really was a race uniter and was for peace. He was. Imagine if he was alive in the Trump era. I can't imagine because he's not here, unfortunately. Kenman with the $2.79 Canadian A. Dalai Lama is a creep. I don't know the context.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
Let's end on a better note. Schultze, I don't remember the last time Schultze charmed us with a few bucks, but thank you for the $10 contribution.
And that's why I put it up when Margaret was still here, so that we could see the thank you, Margaret.
For Margaret, that's who it was really for. Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things that we ask you to do.
What do we have coming up?
Well, I asked you first.
Hold on a second. I know we have somebody. Oh, we have Median. And Median Schofner is an activist and has an organization out in Denver that promotes Black excellence. And she's just very interesting. And she has been one of the people that has been protesting and dealing with ICE specifically lately. But yes, I do know her from my abolition panel. Yes.
Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things we ask you to do. Thank you for hanging with us for over 3 hours.
Free Palestine.
Love you all. We appreciate you all, and we'll see you Thursday.